Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this Tampa City Council workshop meeting to order. It is my pleasure this morning to welcome Pastor Clarence Nathan, who is with us in the front row. Just a brief biography. Pastor Nathan was raised in Tampa and attended segregated schools, only to receive his first white teacher during his senior year at Middleton High School. When he joined the Tampa Police Department in February 1971, he was unfamiliar with the all-white work environment. He always remembered wise advice he received from one of TPD's pioneering black officers, Sergeant Samuel Jones Sr., who told him, "You have to be twice as good just to be average as a black officer." He took this advice to heart because failure was not an option, says Pastor Nathan. Although he did not experience discrimination directly, he watched it happen to other black officers and believed if one suffered, we all suffered. This prompted him to join the Fearless Four lawsuit. Eventually, Pastor Nathan was promoted to the rank of lieutenant and retired in March of 1985. He was always fearless in the face of adversity. If you visit the Tampa Police Building here on Franklin Street and you walk in, there is a mural of the Fearless Four, which was dedicated not too long ago, so you can read about the story of these amazing individuals that stood up for what was right and, in my opinion, are living legends today. So if we could please stand, Pastor Nathan, if you would lead us in the invocation.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, our Savior and our Lord, we come now today to give honor and praise with thanksgiving to your glorious and mighty name. We thank you for your goodness, your mercy, your love and kindness. We thank you for this day that you have made, a day we choose to rejoice and be glad in. Your word says to us, except you watch over a city, they that watch in vain. We ask now that you would watch over this city, Father God, and all of its residents. You said that we're to pray for those who have authority over us, that we might live in peace. And Father, we lift up the members of this city council this morning, ask that you would lead, guide, and direct them, Father God, as they discuss the people's business, guide their hearts and their minds. We pray for peace, world peace, Father God, in our this entire world and in our country. We ask that you would move and touch the hearts and the minds and the lives of the people. We ask, Father God, that you would be with and bless those who are less fortunate, those who are disenfranchised, Lord God, that this council will stand together, Father God, to make sure that we overcome these areas. We pray, Father God, for the victims, the survivors of gun violence. We ask that your blessing will be with them, guide them and direct them, care for them and keep them, we pray, in the glorious name of Christ our Savior and our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, roll call.
Carlson.
Here.
Goods.
Here.
Hurtak. Citro.
Here.
Vieira.
Here.
Miranda.
Here.
Maniscalco.
Here.
Will Physical Quorum.
Mr. Shelby.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Chairman, Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney. Today, the workshop on the 28th day of April of 2022 is being held here with a live in chambers, and also available we have communications media technology. That does require pre-registration, and that is available in the instructions on the agenda and on the notice, and it's at tampa.gov/city council. Now, the citizens of Tampa are able to watch on cable TV Spectrum Channel 640, Frontier Channel 15, and on the internet at tampa.gov/live stream. And again, pre-registration is required. And Mr. Chairman, I believe you sent out a memo with regard to public comment. We could discuss that now or at the time that it comes up.
Would you like to discuss it, or I can read
Well,
it?
if you wish to, why don't we just state it after we, if the council can waive the rules to allow for CMT. Thank
We
you.
have a motion from Councilman Citro. Do we have a second from Councilman Goods. All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
All right. Just in regards to the format for today's meeting, regarding the workshop and how it works, if you are here for public comment, general public comment, you will be speaking at the beginning, but you cannot speak a second time. If you want to speak on any item on the agenda after it is presented, then you can. We'll have public comment after each item. That's how we've traditionally done it before we went to, the COVID format that we've been in the last 2 years. But this is going back to original rules. So if you're here for general public comment, You can speak freely at the beginning, but you won't be able to get a second chance after each workshop item. But everyone will get a chance to speak, and that's it. And just a reminder that there's going to be a 5-minute timer for all council members' comments, not including questions and answers. That's another rule that we've passed before, but just to keep it organized. So,
Mr. Chair.
yes, sir.
I think my speakers for number one aren't here yet. Is it possible we could do public comment and then come back to number one?
So we are.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I
Yep,
missed you.
okay. And just a couple things. We have a memo from Councilwoman Hurtak due to a prior obligation. She will be unable to attend today's workshop. I'd like to read that into the record. Councilman Carlson, I know you have a prior commitment and need to leave by 12 p.m. Would you like to explain why, or you don't have to? But
You all may know I'm a fan of Dean Mitchell, who's one of the top African-American artists in the country, and he happens to be located here in Tampa. I get to give him a statewide Artist of the Year award tonight, so I have to go to Fort Lauderdale. Thank you.
Okay. We also have a motion from Councilmember Vieira, sir, on one item to postpone it. Is that correct?
Oh, yes, yeah, I'm sorry, I sent a memo on that, yes, the pipeline, I'll come up with another date on that.
Okay.
So is there,
That's item 7 to be determined on the date.
is that going to be taken up when you get to that point, or
Do it
is there a
now.
motion now?
Yeah, I just made the motion.
That was a motion?
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Vieira to continue item number 7 to a date that will be, a future date that will be determined. Second from Councilman Citro, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, staff is also requesting a continuance for number 8, that it be continued. This is a memo from Mr. Rob Rosner. Continue that item to June 23rd, 2022. Do we have a motion to continue number 8? So we have a motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilman Goods, all in favor? Aye. Aye. And I believe that is it. We will go to item number 1, just a clarification on the agenda. It is the Tampa Bay Defense Alliance. Correct, sir? Yes, ma'am? Oh, number 6. We have a request from Mr. Brad Baird that we continue item number 6 to May 19th. Motion from Councilman Goods, second from Councilman Vieira. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, item number 1, Councilman Carlson, this is your item, and the gentleman is here.
This is a group that, that I have spent some time talking to, and they've been in and around base realignments, the BRAC programs, which Tampa goes through like every 10 or 15 years. And usually the chamber and other groups scramble to try to make sure that we protect our important asset that is MacDill. I don't think we're at risk at all right now, but as we're making land use choices and planning in and around MacDill, one of the issues in the past was encroachment. I think that might have changed, and so I thought it would just be a good idea to get feedback from you all on what you're hearing from DOD about the importance of the city's relationship with MacDill.
If I can, Mr. Chairman, I just want
Yes.
to be able to clarify the name on the name of the organization as number 1, I believe, does that need to be corrected? for
Yeah,
the agenda?
would you mind just telling us the exact name of the
Sure,
organization,
and-
say
and-
your name, and if you have anybody else with you, who
And
else?
Shelby, it's in the presentation. We're the Tampa Bay Defense Alliance.
The Tampa Bay Defense Alliance. Okay, I don't know, Mr. Carlson, if you wanted to have the agenda amended to reflect that accurately, or just in the.
Okay, could I move to amend the agenda, please, to put the correct name of that one?
We have a motion from Councilmember Carlson, second from Councilmember Goods, and that is to amend the agenda to reflect, item number 1 is the Tampa Bay Defense Alliance. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Go ahead, sir, please state your name.
Members of the council, my name is Larry Martin. I'm a retired Air Force officer. I was the base commander at MacDill about 10 years ago. Retired back here a few years ago. Councilman Carlson's confusion was my boss in the Tampa Bay Defense Alliance, Ms. Donna Honeycutt, our president, sends her regrets and her apologies. She came in positive this morning with COVID as I was driving in for the session today. So I'll be solo today, but not completely. Mr. Stephen Benson is with me from the city planning office, working for the mayor, and I'll reference Stephen here in just a few minutes. First slide, please. We are, second slide, please. Quickly, we're the Tampa Bay Defense Alliance group formed in 2012 to get after exactly the issues that Councilman Carlson talked about. Base realignment and closure is a continuing issue in the area, as well as the continuing support of service members, their families in the area. We're a group formed in 2012. We have interest in all 8 counties. We run from trying to help maintain the ranges that are in the Gulf to working over in Polk County with the Avon Park Range up north in Brooksville and down as far as Sarasota. Next slide, please. The key today, and we were asked today to come to talk about how the city might continue to work in a good way to make sure that we maintain this wonderful asset that is MacDill Air Force Base, which is one of the largest economic drivers in the base, supports a large active duty reserve and reserve component, plus a huge number of veterans and their families that live in the area. I'll refer you to the 2 bolded items in our goals, which is to promote and preserve the military missions in the area, while at the same time looking at number 4, which is to promote and facilitate compatible community development in the area. What I'm going to talk to you about today is a quick case study and a success story that the city is doing right now that we, with a model that we should emulate as we continue and going forward. Next slide, please. You're familiar in the area with the base down here in the south, and I'll blow that map up just a little bit. I became recently, I did a lot of looking at the city's website and asked myself if I was a developer who wanted to develop in South Tampa, could I get the information that I needed to develop down near MacDill Air Force Base easily? It was struck to us at the Tampa Bay Defense Alliance when about 1.5 years ago, a national hotel chain contacted us and asked us for advice if they were going to build a hotel down behind the McDonald's just outside the MacDill Gate. We linked them at that point to the planners and the civil engineers that were on the base, and there was a great dialogue between the two about the considerations a hotel chain might have to have if they wanted to develop in the area. They chose not to, not because the base was there, but for other economic reasons. But they made a wise choice because they had much better information. The city of Tampa right now maintains on its websites excellent planning materials if you're going to live near Ybor, or if you're going to work on the river, or if you're going to be a historical district. But if you get in the area, next slide please. If you're in the area down here, down south of Gandy in the light green, you can see in the mid-right and the lower left, those areas down around Bayshore, which are the approach zones to the base, and then the pink clear zones that are right near the base. There's not a lot of information when you look at city planning on how you would do that. So we approached both the base and the city to ask if there was an easier way to do it. We used as our example similar planning materials that are available at Fairchild Air Force Base in Spokane, Washington. Planning guides that make it very easy for someone who wants to develop in the area to get information that they might have so they can make a wise choice. Now let me be clear, we're not advocating right now that there be any rezoning of property or that there be any changes in property, but rather if you were a developer and you were considering anything in that area, that you could get the information that you needed very easily and we could point you to exactly who you needed to talk to make a wise choice. It was at that point that after talking to the mission support group at the base and Colonel Oshinsky and his group, that we approached Stephen Benson and his group, and they've been enthusiastically working with us for about the last 6 weeks to get that information to coordinate with the base and to make that information available. Simply put, what we'll do is code the properties that are in the area here so that there's a flag on it that says, you might want to consider this. You're in an approach zone, and here's where you get the information for that as you go forward. What we would recommend in the Tampa Bay Defense Alliance is that efforts like this, and this is what the Defense Alliance tries to do, is to bring interested parties together so they can talk early about issues like this and work out. Because we support the priorities of the base, and interestingly enough, the base leadership is not against development in South Tampa. In fact, they're quite in favor of it because a number of their young service members have to live out in East County and commute a long ways to get to the base. So if there's better, more affordable housing or apartment developments that are in the area that are more affordable to their service members, they're all in favor of that, as long as it allows continued use of the military mission that's at the base. At this point, I'd like to ask Stephen if you'd join me. Stephen has highlighted to me recently some planning efforts that are going on. The Florida State Defense Task Force has funded recently to the tune of about $500,000 a relook at what was known as the JLUS, the Joint Land Use Study that was done in 2008 with a new compatible use addendum with the metropolitan planning groups that are going on right now, to the tune of about $500,000 to look at that again, to continue the development and the work for the airports in the area, including Tampa International, Peter Knight, and McDill. Stephen and his group have been doing, in addition to working with us, there's been some interesting work going on the shoreline down near McDill. Stephen?
Thank you, Larry. Just wanted to add that as council is aware, we've recently kicked off the coastal planning contract, which includes developing community plans for Palmetto Beach and all of the south of Gandy neighborhoods. And so looking at what we should be doing in terms of planning and getting information out and working with the community in regards to what happens around the base is something that we are going to be putting forward as an integral part of that project, especially with the extensive public outreach that will be taking place. And so we just want to thank Councilman Carlson for bringing this forward so we can connect those dots and move that forward as part of the planning process.
And with that, we're ready for any questions or any from council.
Any questions, Councilman Carlson? No? Anybody?
Nothing? Go ahead. I wasn't gonna, it's your thing, I mean, I don't want to. I was just gonna thank Councilman Carlson for bringing this forward, and thank you for this. I mean, we're, you know, to say we're lucky to have McDill here is quite the understatement, right? It's something that really defines our area so much. You know, we have over 100,000 veterans in Hillsborough County, and you know, we're more than anything a very, very patriotic community, and that is one of the great foundations for us as a community. So thank you for Councilman Carlson for bringing this forward. It's so important. I remember meeting you, sir, if I recall, at the Medal of Honor convention, or when
Yes,
you
sir.
came here, yes, sir, with Travis and some other folks. So, you know, it's things like that kind of flow from that presence, and that we can just celebrate our patriotism, celebrate the valor and service of our veterans. And so just, again, to say that we're lucky to have McDill is a heck of an understatement, but that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilman. And Councilman, there is no finer community anywhere in the United States for supporting the military than Tampa. But what this gets to is this, we're now debating how we use the wonderful treasure that's in our city. And whether it's the land, the space, the noise, and we do that. And the best way that we believe to do that, while the support is unparalleled for the military, is that there are people that would like to develop. There are businesses in the area that have reasonable concerns, and we believe this is the best way to try to satisfy all of them and going forward. Sir?
Can I just throw out two questions real fast? One is just you and Stephen, anything that you all would recommend that we look at to consider to be supportive? And then number two, I've heard feedback that because there are multiple bases on McDill, if DOD, I think, designated it as multiple bases, we might treat it differently, or they might treat it differently.
Councilman, I hadn't heard anything about treating it as multiple bases. There are, with around 39 tenants on the base, that diversity makes McDill very hard. It makes it very hard to try to get rid of, put simply. The main concern that we have for the base that's in the area has to do with the fact that McDill is number 8 on the Air Force's list of the most threatened bases because of rising water. And so the city has been doing a good number of work. We've worked with them to get grants for the areas to try to mitigate that. So that, as the rest of the city, the entire city deals with that issue, is one of the critical issues that would threaten the mission that's in the area, sir.
Councilman Citro, Councilman Goods.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Yes, I'm with the Tampa Bay Regional Planning, and we have a major plan right now on sea level rise and protecting the coast. Because let's face it, the airplanes and the personnel can evacuate during a hurricane. But if the base isn't there for them to return to, then we failed in that mission. So thank you for mentioning that.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Goods.
Kind of curious, the term multiple bases, I thought it was McDill Air Force Base. Am I confused or something? So I'm just trying to figure out, what does that mean when you're saying, Mr. Carlson, multiple bases?
Different branches.
And Councilman, I think there's been, as the bases, when the Department of Defense a number of years ago went to joint basing, where there was a Marine Corps, a Navy, an Air Force base, they made them one base. That never had to happen on McDill because of the way it was organized.
Because you have SICA, you have the Marines are there, you have SITCOM, there's different branches
Oh,
over
there's
there.
also,
Right.
there's many different. I said there's 39 different organizations on McDill.
Right.
With that, we've been lucky from this old base commander's perspective to continue to have one base commander who speaks as a single voice for maintaining the base and then works with city, county, state, federal, to try to maintain that.
I just wanted to be clear what it was. I got confused. I thought, everybody was out there, different branches were out there, so.
Now, to be fair to, the Defense Alliance also works with, for instance, Coast Guard Station Clearwater, the Avon Range, the reserve bases that are in the area, the Army detachments that are in Brooksville, to try to support those bases too. Our primary focus is MacDill.
I think where it's come up recently, people will talk to me about it in particular, is because of the access to the base and the traffic jams, especially at certain times.
And Councilman, you've got the third or fourth largest employer in the county, with 3 access points that come down major roads with work schedules that come in and out. That will continue to be an issue. I know the council and the county government are working hard for things like the ferry and other for access for that. All those to the good, again, as we maintain the access to the base.
It seems to me like there's a security issue too. I don't want to say too much about this right now, but in the original Gulf War, I remember the way people were tipped off in town that it was starting was that there were a lot of pizza deliveries to the base just before. But what I observed,
smartwatches too.
I lived on Dale Mabry for a few years and would watch the traffic, and there are obvious traffic patterns at certain times of day, and then suddenly when there was a big traffic jam, I would just turn on the news and I would see that something was happening. So,
well, as my spouse watches the Nextdoor app, anytime there's an extra fighter plane or a helicopter that comes in, it is the beginning of a World War III or IV, whichever one that it is coming out. So Councilman, you're right with that, but that's the nature of the fact that we have a base that is in a very dense urban environment for the ability to watch it.
To that point, thank you, Councilman Carlson. To that point, what would it take to convince the Selma Expressway people or the FDOT to provide some sort of reduced fare for SunPass that would take them almost directly to the to the Dale Mabry gate? Because the majority of traffic that I see going to and from MacDill is on Bayshore.
And Councilman, that's been raised at various times. I don't know the latest status of that. During my tenure 15 years ago, we brought that up, and we couldn't resolve that with the Expressway Commission.
Councilman Carlson.
I met with the new.
I'm sorry.
I met with the new head of Expressway Authority the other day, and Dossie, my legislative, will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he said that they figured out a workaround because a current reduced program from Brandon to MacDill, and so there is some kind of program. But I know that the Expressway Authority in the past has looked at building an extension down Dale Mabry, and that would be controversial with the neighborhoods. So I'm not pushing for it. I'm just saying that they looked at taking it down there. And then the other thing, though, is the Expressway Authority several years ago also offered DOD to pay to expand the gates to enable it to move faster. And I think that was turned down. But anyway, I would encourage you all to talk to them. We need to bring the new executive director, Thea, in here too. In fact, I should make a motion on that later.
Thank you very much. All right, anybody else? No, thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, before we go to public comment, I failed to mention 2 things. Item number 3 cannot be discussed. Susan Johnson Velez will speak and explain at the time of that item as to why. And also, yesterday was Administrative Professionals Day, and or known as Secretary's Day. I just want to acknowledge my legislative aide Lisa and all the legislative aides for all their hard work. You saw Dossie, who was with Councilmember Carlson's office, and everybody else that works behind the scenes and works very, very hard. We appreciate you. So, having said that, we'll go to public comment. If you're here to speak, yes, sir.
And if I may, I believe Mr. Weissman is here with Andrew Warren's office, and I believe he needs to leave by 10. So just to make sure, in case if there's a traffic jam there with public comment.
Okay. If you're here to speak on on anything in general, not on any specific workshop item, please state your name and approach the podium. You'll have 3 minutes. As I mentioned earlier, after each workshop item, you will be able to speak on those items. So if you want any general comment, go ahead now, and if you speak on anything else, you can't speak a second time. So go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Council. Bob Whitmore, Executive Director of City Tree. When Vladimir Putin threatened Ukraine with an attack. I believe we can all agree, seeing the results, that the right thing to do would have been to stop him. But we were scared. We were afraid to escalate the situation. Scared he was turn his well-funded rage on us. We didn't have the courage or the political will to stop him. So we came in, and the destruction caused is something we will always have to live with. So now all we can do is send support and money and hope we can mitigate the damage and perhaps bolster the political will to prevent it from happening again. When the developers and their hired henchmen came for John Dingfelder, I believe we can all agree we should have stopped them. We were afraid that they might turn their attention and litigated hate on those who came to his defense. So we let them attack, and the devastation is something both we and John and his family will need to live with for a long, long time. So now all we can do is offer support and money and do everything we can to mitigate the damage done and make sure it doesn't happen again. The Dingfelder Defense Fund is a way to help John Dingfelder recover from his battle with the developers. And additionally, it is a way for you, the public, to make a statement about stopping special interest groups from attacking our democracy. Join us in the fight by giving anything you can to the Dingfelder Defense Fund. Go to GoFundMe/Dingfelder-Defense-Fund. That's GoFundMe, Dingfelder Defense Fund, or just go up into the search and type in Defend Dingfelder. And make your voice heard. Say never again to the perpetrators of this attack on a city that we love. With that, I'll ask if you have any questions for me. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, next speaker. Yes, sir. Please state your name.
My name is Andrew Carranza. I'm here to actually speak about the master plan, but I have to get to work, so I'm just going to say my piece. Like I said, my name is Andrew. Now, I attended most of the feedback meetings that the city gave with Parks and Rec, most of them, and also was on a call with the AECom when they asked for feedback as well. And I am a big advocate for our Parks and Rec. You know, they do great work. With the resources they have, the awards they get, they deserve them. If the report tells us nothing, it is that we need more resources for the exploding population. What it would also say is that our Parks and Rec folks are great. They're the best. They're great ambassadors for our city. We love our coaches, and they understand the system. If you speak to a coach, they understand what's wrong and how to fix things because they have the experience. They've been there, and that's something that we should, think about. What I hope the report also says is that there is massive inequality, and I know this from personal experience. My son goes to Henry Nola Rec Center, which is in Henry Nola Park, which, as you know, is one of our largest parks in the city. It's 12 acres. It's, of all the rec centers, it is the 9th largest piece of property. But what it houses as a main classroom is one of the smallest air-conditioned trailers. It's not even a building, it's a trailer. And it's not even something we own, we rent this thing, okay? And you know that I've been fighting to get a bigger building there. Just for reference, Kate Jacks is 10,000 square feet, okay? Loretta Ingram is 21,000 square feet. Even Fort DeSoto gets 2,000 square feet, all right? And we're not asking for something this large. Having such a small space means that we can't offer programs, we can't offer spaces in after school and summer camp to Seminole Heights, which is a huge community full of kids. The 26, now, it's also the reason that the city gave us, that they closed us for 18 months during the pandemic. 18 months, we were closed. And we are one of 5 rec centers that were closed for that long a period of time because our building is so small. Some of you may recall that we tried, so we talked to you, we had meetings, we tried to come up with a solution, a stopgap, something temporary to get these kids back to their park, and it didn't happen. what I'm asking for is that we address the city quality, and I hope that the master plan does that. And I would like to make sure that that master plan is made public, considering the amount of money and civic engagement that you all asked for. And I'd like to thank you for your time. I'd also like to submit this, a gift, Parks and Recreation System Planning, a new approach for creating sustainable, resilient communities. This is about master plans. It's a great read. It's pretty thin. This is for you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Any questions?
No, go ahead, Councilman Eater.
Thank you. No, I usually don't speak during public comment, but I just wanted to say thank you for coming, and that, I mean, I know that, I know we all will, if it comes up and it is solicited support, improvements over Ola. I mean, I've spoken to some folks about that in the past, and I don't directly represent that area, but I'll be glad to support anything that's put forward on it, including whether it's a design money to begin and then construction the next year, whatever. I think that's really, really important, and I know that we all will. So if you want to meet with me to talk about that, sir, I'd be delighted. So I just wanted to thank you for coming before work.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next speaker. Yes, sir. Please state your name.
Yes, my name's Melvin Hicks. I guess I'm at large. It came to my attention yesterday when I spoke with an internal affairs captain that I would never get a fair shake. It came to my attention when he said technically he was judge, jury, and executioner. It came to my attention that I would never get a fair shake with the city council under this administration, under the legislative branch of our city. I would never get a fair shake. It came to my attention that my safety was always going to be at risk. It came to my attention that the safety of a person of color, not the one who put race in it, don't mean a hill of beans to the safety person that's in charge of safety. I guess he's an ex-cop, maybe, I don't know. But it came to my attention that this administration knows me, that they always going to be very prejudiced to me. And it shows, the pattern has been shown already since May 25th of 2020. It came to my attention that they got the dates messed up. It didn't happen on the 23rd, it happened on the 25th. It came to my attention that the city council legislative branch is acting very irregular of their duties, violation of their duties to a person, to the people. But I am the people too. But it came to my attention that y'all keep on failing miserably, but trying to do stuff to look good. Politics, that's what we're dealing with right here, politics. It came to my attention that what is right, what is law? I read down there, it says the law matters. Where at? Where the law matters at? Where do the law matters? It doesn't matter here because the process never get done right. Y'all fail in the process with me. Y'all fail with everything from step A, B, C, and D. Y'all failed, and it's been proven. But y'all trying to look good. John Bennett trying to look good. So we already know this is criminally, but y'all want to look good. But it's time to man up. Y'all men, right? Y'all got families, right? How do y'all look them in the eyes at night? How do y'all explain to your daughter, like, Daddy, who's that right there? Why did that happen right there? How do y'all do it? A man will tell the truth, but no one's telling the truth. No one's telling the truth. I'm just tired. Have a good day. We're all gonna fail in life.
All right, next speaker, please state your name.
Good morning, Council. My name is Gary Wiseman. I'm the Chief of Staff and Assistant State Attorney at the State Attorney's Office here in our jurisdiction. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning. My comments will be addressed to item 5 of the agenda, which is the workshop you're doing on crime victims and how to better support them. At the State Attorney's Office, of course, we have over 300 staff members. We have 100, and included in that is 130 assistant state attorneys dedicated every day to supporting victims of crime. It is important work. It is the best example of government. And I say that to you because within our program, we also have a victim assistance program, over 30 professionals dedicated every day to making sure that victims of crime know how to navigate the criminal justice system, which can often be confusing. Of course, you know well that crime victims are in a moment of vulnerability. We're seeing them at their worst moments, and that's when we need to lift people up, and that's what our office does every day. The important work that you'll undertake this morning to discuss crime victims and how to better support them is going on throughout the state. I could share with you data on how that looks. I could tell you that the Marsy's Law constitutional amendment that elevated victims' rights passed with over 60%, or nearly 60% in Hillsborough County. I could tell you that every year our office assists over 40,000 victims. I could tell you that we make notification calls talking about court events over 400,000 times a year. But that's just data. Supporting crime victims is an independent evaluation of each case, and every victim needs something different. So the important work that you'll undertake this morning, the state attorney, all of the men and women of the state attorney's office support it. I want you to know that we believe that supporting victims and having this discussion this morning represents that which is best about government. We appreciate it. We look forward to hearing the discussion and listening to the discussion, and we stand ready to partner with you in any way, shape, or form in advocacy of crime victims. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please state your name.
My name is Nathan Hagan. Thank you, Chairman, for the flexibility and comments today. I wouldn't be able to attend and give my comments otherwise. So there's a couple issues coming up today. I haven't really been in the weeds in the Parks and Rec thing, but I want to point out, I'm up here talking about density a lot. And if we aren't building parks, if we're not investing in those resources, that's going to be a real problem with people in the community. You can't have, a lot of people really love their front yards, and I think that people deserve the opportunity to experience living in a dense community with really good access to parks. I think it's a really important part of the future of Tampa. Well, on a more personal note, I played soccer my whole life, and when I went to college, I stopped playing. I was too busy. I just thought, I wasn't in high school anymore, and that period of my life was over. This was in Gainesville. And after I graduated, a couple of years went by, and I was like, I found my way into an adult soccer league, and that was one of the best things that I've ever done in my adult life, and in terms of personal fulfillment and being part of a community. So I find that it's kind of strange that there's nowhere anywhere near downtown that you can do that. You have to go all the way out to Courtney Campbell to play soccer with other people in any kind of organized way. The Villa Brothers Park is the only park that I'm aware of that I have access to as somebody who doesn't really drive to play soccer even on a pickup game basis. So anyways, I think that we need to be investing in parks downtown. Julian Lane's great. It's great to have lawns. It's great to have public spaces. We need fields. We need organized sports in our urban core. And we need to make sure that we're doing things equitably. I think that's really critical. I also want to comment about parking minimums. I know that's going to come up through a private amendment discussion today. This has been done to death. Parking is, when we have parking minimums that are out of line with what people actually need, we're mandating housing for cars over housing for people. We're in a crisis right now. I hope we're all on the same page that in the downtown core it should not be controversial to be flexible on parking. That is a huge burden on our community in terms of our ability to build more housing, and it affects the cost of housing. And we should. I think they're asking for 50%. I would love for them to ask for 100%, but that's 50% is pretty good. I know there's some public code amendments coming up as well. The gray water bonus density, my understanding is that's a requirement at the state level that we're sort of implementing here. I just want to point out we have a lot of bonus density opportunities that are not affordable housing. And we need to figure out how we can prioritize and incentivize affordable housing bonus density over the other ones. Every project that takes advantage of bonus density should be doing affordable housing, at least over a certain number of units that can actually support it. And then my final comment is, street cafes are great. Let's make those everywhere. Pocket parks, whatever we can do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, next speaker, please state your name.
Good morning, Connie Burton. The prayer of the ministers tend to reflect what I'm going to say. And when he talked about his period of living during segregation, I think we need to really consider the America in which we're living now. When we think about neighborhoods that receive the least, communities that is dealing with serious economic inequality, the ongoing disparities that exist, whether it is through education, employment, or criminal justice, it is the population that is still trying to weave itself into this America that is moving back toward segregation, all whiteness. It is the reality that we see that's happening across the board. What bring me here this morning is when we are talking about housing and the ongoing issues that we see right now in the city of Tampa. Whether it is Silver Oaks Apartments that has had a number of press conferences from the mayor's office and others that see the issues, but the community is now crying out in terms of how will the resolution come. Not only Silver Oaks Apartments, but a lot of low-income housing where people are being expected to live in conditions that white women and families do not have to, it's not a consideration. Often I ask myself, where do poor white women and families end up? And it's not Silver Oaks, it's not Jackson Heights Estate, it's not Columbus Court. Here at Silver Oaks, where they're receiving a ton of federal dollars right here in this city, and you could say it's not within your arm reach, but it is, because it is residents and voters of this community that needs your assistance. I'm hoping that from all the gathering of all of the press that we have had on the conditions of these development, even with Marco Rubio asking that HUD suspend sending these people funding, that you take some direct action. The health concerns of those children that have to walk through deplorable conditions to get on the bus, not being able to rest peacefully at night in terms of ongoing health crisis, is calling on this council and this mayor to take an immediate action so we can say that all lives matter. Thank you.
Thank you very
Mr. Chairman.
much. Yes, sir. Councilman Gill.
I'm hopeful that, I see Ms. Nguyen back there, I'm hopeful that on last week when I asked in reference to how we can partner with the state and maybe our code enforcement can be involved in that. So I'm hoping they'll come back till we can get some type of mutual aid agreement so we can go in there and can regulate some of the apartments. It's not just Silver Oaks. You got Columbus Court, Central Court. It's not just that. There's plenty of them. But I think what we have to do, if the state doesn't have the manpower, then maybe we can get some of their dollars to get some more manpower to assist with our code enforcement to go in and actually cite these people. As far as Senator Rubio, maybe this council can send a resolution to his office and to the Department of HUD, Secretary, to look at stopping funding or having them come down here to really do some work to see what's going on. So I think I'll probably make that motion toward the end of reference so this council can send something to the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Next speaker, please state your name.
Did you want to come back?
I have a lot that would actually hurt if you don't mind.
Yeah, come on.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, Council. My name is Barbara Van Arsdale. I was here last week, but I had not planned on speaking, and I kind of fell apart. I'm here today because I was just handed my new lease by my landlord this morning in my parking lot. It's exactly what that woman is saying. I am being extorted for money, a 10% increase in my rent for a 288 square foot dump, which nobody in this room would want to live in and be there overnight even. It is not what I intended at 71, to live all over the country, to pick Tampa as my home to retire in of choice. And to end up here in this state is more overwhelming than I can imagine. God is on my side. He's guided me my whole life. I've seen so much corruption, but Tampa is so disappointing in ways that I can't even explain. I applied for the Tampa Housing Authority wait list. I got in. I'm number 6,033 this week. In the meantime, I got a place on Curiosity Creek Lane, which is Section 8 housing, where everybody living around me gets subsidized. I pay my rent. My rent is astronomical. It's about 70% of my monthly income. I couldn't qualify for that place if I needed to pay 3 times of my monthly income because I don't have it. I live on about $1,400 a month. Each day I'm alive, I live worse than the last day because the cost of living and where I'm living deteriorates. Yesterday morning, I'm in bed on bed rest, supposedly, from an accident last week at Social Security. Not only did I watch drug deals go down in my parking lot within feet from me, I watched my neighbor go out to a car undressed with just not even underpants covering his butt, walking to a car in the trunk, opening up boxes and dressing in my parking lot where I'm looking. Now, where are the police? They're there all the time during the day chasing out all the other drug people, the people that have lost their homes, that come back in and sleep there overnight. And this crime is overwhelming. Tampa housing is overwhelming. The people won't meet with you. I've watched the Mary Bethune building. I've watched the River Project. I go down there and drive. I know vacancies in that building for months. Nobody's getting in. Why? The staff disappears. They change staff. You cannot reach somebody in person. I've tried and tried. Now, I've got my lease on Sunday. I'm in my place for another year. I don't know if I'll even be able to afford the rent for the next few months. I'm living on a credit card for food and necessities. My car blew up that I bought to move here with. And I'm alive by the grace of God, and I don't want to live where I'm at, but it's better than where I could be. I pray for all the people that are being forced out like I was. Thank you for listening to me today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Please state your name.
Good morning, my name is Pastor Frank Williams, located at 1112 East Scott Street, Paradise Missionary Baptist Church. You know, I think I'm going to read some scripture to y'all first, coming from the book of Mark. Let me see what you Mark 16th chapter, beginning at the 15th verse. Jesus said unto them, Go ye unto all the world, and preach the gospel to every creature. He that believeth and is baptized shall be saved, but he that believeth not shall be damned. And these signs shall follow them that believe. In my name they shall cast out devils, they shall speak with new tongues, they shall take no serpent, and if they drink of any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. They shall lay their hands on the sick, and they shall be recovered. That's the scripture for the day. Thank you, Jesus. But you know what? I was coming down here, and I passed by a place called the Jackson House. And y'all ought to see that junk sitting up there. And it's been there for a long time. Nobody doing nothing about it. It's been sitting there for years, not just yesterday. And that Jackson House needs to come down. It can't be renovated. It needs to come down completely. And y'all need to start doing something about the condition of people's houses. And don't charge them no money, too. And we got to understand, they give me a citation because of the grass that's growing around my yard. But this Jackson House is raggedy and sitting up there, getting ready to fall down any time. And y'all got it sitting there and won't do nothing about it. And you know what the mayor say? She said that she was going to put millions and millions of dollars in the black neighborhood. Where's the black neighborhood? I ain't seen a brown penny come in the black neighborhood as far as my church is concerned. They sent me this citation on my job, at my church. I happened to go over there one day, and I want y'all to get a copy of this here. The guy sent it up, put it up there. I can't hardly read without my glass. His name Billy Chapman. Who in the hell is Billy Chapman? He need to get things straight. That's a church, and he's gonna start taking the church because he want to take away our civil rights, take away our biblical rights, take away our constitutional right, take away all our rights as a human being, treat us like we're animals, treat us like we're dogs. And another thing, they need to get rid of some of those buildings over downtown, what y'all call a high rise. They should call that a dog house, because they ain't got nothing but people got a bunch of dogs. You ain't got to keep ringing on me. I know my time ain't up, but you're cutting me short.
Thank you very much, sir.
Can y'all get a copy of this here?
Yes, sir.
And search it, and give me my copy back, because I got to see what all it got to say about me.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please. Please state your name.
Mentes not Tampa, Florida. Fact of the matter is, the city council or anyone else, they can't fix anything. They couldn't fix Bayshore Boulevard from flooding. They can't fix Henderson and Del Mabry from flooding. They can't fix, as the gentleman said, the Jackson House, which is an embarrassment to African people. It's an embarrassment to African people. Nothing more, nothing less. They can't fix anything but be still and fix high gas prices for poor and working class people. But that's neither here nor there. That's what goes on in capitalism. White people are the bullies of the world. They're 11% of the world's population and uses 89% of the world's resources, ultimately controlling 100% of the world's economy, political structures, social structures, environment, human resources, ingenuity, space exploration, water, mineral resources, and everything that's important about life and death. White people are 48% of Tampa's population and control 100% of Tampa's wealth. We as Africans are 26% of Tampa's population and control 0% of the Tampa city budget. We're about 13% of Florida's population and control 0% of Florida budget, 0% of tourism, and tourism budget that gets 0%, nothing from the city, county, state, or federal budget. The white people uses us as pawns, as census numbers in order to get financial benefits, financial rewards in the form of affirmative action that really goes to them, but they act as if we are the beneficiary as part of their scams. Take, for instance, the $100 million Hannah Street project, nothing for the Africans. White people are such bullies that they don't even want the African talking about the 1619 project. They don't even want Africans talking about slavery, past injustices, current injustices, reparations, or how wrong we Africans have been treated for the past 622 years internationally under the domination of colonialism, neocolonialism, capitalism, imperialism, and other forms of white power. White people are such bullies that they're taking the offensive and making black people never, ever, ever get to the table for the equal share of anything positive. The white people intentionally have a new description of the evolved African, a replacement word for the N-word, and that word is woke. The people went from calling us thugs, rioters, looters, career criminals, repeat offenders, and now derogatorily calling us African people woke. Woke is the new N-word. Right here in the city of Tampa, sitting right here in city council, is one old white man that probably never seen a black man since his grandparents bought one. And when that white man seen a real African and his colleagues, they had that African arrested, prosecuted, and jailed. Never apologized, no compensation, no reparations. And that's how all Africans are being treated in this city. And we need reparations from the time this city started to 2022.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, David. God bless you.
Next speaker, please. Please state your name.
My name is Senior Executive General Consult, and I asking that the city of Tampa let me do my job. I'm in the voice for the formal homeless. I'm not asking the city of Tampa to give me their budget or anything, just to do my job. And that's what I'm here for, their voice, to helping and assisting with legal help and with housing. And I really asking that every administration of City of Tampa let me do my job. My endorsement is with FEMA. I don't need any money from the city, and I just came here to present myself. My name is Susanna Marie, and I'm a Senior Executive General Counsel for Hope and Home of Florida. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please. Please state your name.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, do you have any information about your group, a pamphlet or anything about your group?
Yes, I will
Could you leave it with Ms. Edwards there, if you have a pamphlet and information? Thank you.
very much. Yes, ma'am. Please
Good
state your
morning.
name.
Good morning, first of all, and my name is Irma Celestine. I live at 812 West Columbus Drive. Since 2004, the city had worked right in front of my house, and they had caused the damage. I realized that until 2006, and you can all see it because I'm pretty sure you all travel sometime in Columbus Drive. But as I look around, it seems like it's from the whole city is all screwed up, let me put it that way, the road. And what happened, you all give, how would I say, a permit to those contractors. I wonder if you guys ever go back and see what kind of work, or is there really someone looking at these work that's been done? Because sometimes 1 minute, 1 year, they more or less paint the road. I wouldn't say fix it because it's full of crack. And it get messed up again. So by keeping on putting money on the same road at all time, you never fix a problem. But with me, my house shook. All my kids, family moved. I'm still there because personally, I cannot afford getting another place. Insurance and so on and so forth. I want to find out who really is responsible. And it's not the Department of Transportation. It is the city because it came from underground where the water, the sewer, and so on and so forth, travel through. And they're always digging, I would say. But they never do the work correctly, properly. Right now, I'm so fed up, and I'm not gonna move. If anything happened to me, the city will be responsible, and that's how I look at it. Because you all started doing work and damaged my property. It's hard for me to sleep at any time, any road, and especially the trucks. And when you take Columbus Drive, it goes all the way to the other side. It's like an exit. Mr. Good, I understand that you are my city council person from the side where I reside. I wish to know what to do. I cannot live like that anymore. And it wouldn't be fair to none of you if it was you. I mean, you can't be giving out, how would I say, permit to these people that are not qualified, or nobody goes behind and check them out.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
But when people address me, ma'am, I don't know honestly what to do. I've called our people and asked who's responsible. They say the work was done by the county. We've sent information over to the county to look into your situation. I know we sent something to Mr. Marlowe and Ms. Myers' office. I'll continue to get with them to see what can be done, but I really don't have an answer for you because I don't know what all the issues are. My people tell me that the county went out there and did work underneath by your property. So right now, I don't know what liability the city has or the county. I'm still looking into that to see if I can get a definitive answer. But right now, I don't have a definitive answer for you until someone can give me some more information. And I'm sorry that you're going through that.
I'm sorry. I didn't call you because I understand your assistant died, and I wanted to give you some time, and the new person to move in, take a spot. But that's beside the point. It's been 18 years, and honestly, I know everybody in this. Basically, I have their card. I spoke to them. They give me the runaround, and you can see when you cross the street where they enter the water from the north side, transfer the flex tubing into the ground. Every time a car passes, I'm the only one on that street that has that flex tube that not only disturbing my home from the water, And also they done some work where there's two fire hydrant. The whole alley is flooded. They did some work for the sewer line. The whole alley is flooded. And people don't recognize that because I'm the kind of person who's very more or less observant. And I always ask.
In the sake of time, what I'm going to do, I'm going to send another memo out to our people, and I'm going to ask them to go out there with me to see what issues or problems out there. And I can guarantee you'll see my face. People know I'll respond to their homes, and I'm going to respond to your home to see what you're talking about, so I can actually visually see what you're talking about. Okay, ma'am?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very
Within what time should I expect you to come, or do I have to come?
I know I have it, but just give Lisa your address again, and I guarantee you I'll be there by this weekend. I'm going to come by there.
Okay, I look forward to see you. Don't just pop up, give me a call.
I'll give you a call. All right.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. You, miss?
All right, next speaker, please. Please state your name. Danielle, do we have anybody registered?
Hey, good morning. My name's Stephanie Pointer. And you know, technology has kicked my butt this morning, so my speech went bye-bye. Can we get this on the overhead, please? I want to talk today, your charter review is May 23rd. This really isn't about this city council. It's not about anybody who's sitting up there on this diocese right now. Last month, we had 23 candidates for city council. The last time we had a vacancy, we had 100 candidates for city council. City council needs additional legal staff. They should be in charge of the CRA manager right now on the org chart. She reports to the mayor and the chief of staff. I don't believe this dilutes her power. I believe that it gives you guys more power to get things done with the CRA, and they should report directly to you. This does not, what I'm asking for today does not dilute the branches of our city. It only gives you guys more power to do a great job. It gives the city more opportunity to have really good candidates. If you look at this PowerPoint, our population in 2000 was 300,000 people. Now it's got to be over 400,000. These are 2020 figures, okay? So we've got a 33% increase in population. Our budget has went from $480 million to $1,800 million. That's a 275% increase. Now, you think, you guys are still doing business and driving your 2000 Toyota Camry, and it's still getting along because Toyotas are awesome. But I think it's time to trade up a little bit. I think it's time for City Council to be given more legal staff. I think it's time for City Council to have you guys are supposed to have some kind of economic person by charter. It's in the charter that you guys should already have them, but you only have 8 employees now, and that includes your 7 staff members. The bottom line is, in order to continue, why are you guys expected to continue doing business the same way we did 22 years ago with the same car? It's time to trade up. And I would ask you to make a motion today to see to have somebody study the feasibility of these kind of expansions, to make this a full-time position. I want my city councilmen to be able to pay their house payment while they're working for the city. Right now, every single person up there, if your only job was to be a city councilman, you qualify for affordable housing if you're a family of 3. That's ridiculous. It's absolutely absurd. Every one of you work more than 20 hours a week. We spend 16 hours here sometimes on Thursdays. It's ridiculous, and it's time to look at this, and administration needs to look at this, not just city council. I would like for the feasibility study, can I have 30 seconds, please?
All right,
I would like to look at this, I want you to look at this PowerPoint. I analyzed the top administrative staff members in this city. I took them all and averaged them out. They make, on average, $149,000 a year. If you cut that in half, because we're just talking about you guys are currently part-time, you should be paid $74,943 a year. So the bottom line is, you guys are below the, and you guys are working your butts off for the city, and it doesn't take away from anybody anywhere outside of this. It just gives us a solid foundation, and nobody is going to want to run for your seats if they can't pay their house payment while they're working for our city. We've got to come to reality. 22 years is long enough of doing the same thing over and over again. Don't they call that insanity?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please make a motion today.
Do you have anybody else for public comment? All right, we have no one registered, is that correct, Danielle? On- Okay, all right, we will begin with the Parks and Recreation Master Plan.
And Mr. Chair, if I may?
Yes, sir.
For item number 5, I know we have some people who are here who are speaking, et cetera. I just want to make sure, I think we can get it in before lunch, before 12 o'clock, but just to make sure if at all possible, because we have a lot of people here. I see Mr. Barton, Ms. Brown, Mr. Johnson, among others, here, just to make sure. I think we can get it in, but.
I think so, yeah, we should be fine. If
Thank
not,
you, sir.
we'll figure it out.
Thank you, sir.
All right, item number 2, Sharicia Hills.
Good morning, Council. Sharicia Hills, Director of Parks and Rec. I'm here to present Joe Webb with ACOM to show the findings to date of our master plan. I think we had a lot of people asking, is this the final product? This is not. This is their findings to date. So I will turn it over to Mr. Joe Webb.
Thanks, Risha. And thank you, council members. My name is Joe Webb. I'm with the company AECOM. I'm joined here today with David Crawley from our company also, but greatly appreciate your time today to talk about Parks and Recreation. We have a presentation, if you could please call that up.
Go ahead, there it is.
There we go. City Council review, Parks and Recreation Master Plan, certainly something we are very passionate about. Sharicia and her staff have been fantastic partners in this process, but myself and our staff, I run a studio that is Parks, the Director of Parks Planning, and been my life, so it's a passion. Hopefully you share so, but next slide, please. Our agenda, very simply, I know it's obligated as a 15-minute meeting. I'll try and be respectful of that, but just a brief project overview, a system inventory and analysis, our findings from that, community needs and priorities, and then kind of summary and next steps, and hopefully questions and even better answers. So next slide, please. Our process, our project in general, we break it down real simply into 4 steps, what I call learning, exploring, envisioning, and implementing. We've really completed the first 2 steps, which we call learning and exploring. Let's say the learning part is really us doing our homework. We've done research and analysis. We've visited all the parks. We've done level of service and all of that kind of background research. And then really, and kind of the most important part of this process is an extensive public outreach process, which is the exploring part. I'll go into that further, but really here today to check in with all of you, tell us what we learned, what we saw, what we heard from the public, and then, you know, kind of the next steps of how to go forward. Next slide, please. Next slide. So in general, we go out and we visited every single park, and it was a great partnership with the city staff of working together to go to everyone and evaluate every facility. We use a format developed initially and modified by us by the Project for Public Spaces to kind of evaluate park spaces, and really going to every single park, there's a lot to be seen out there. We may each visit some, but I believe there's 181 parks. It's a big system. Design and construction really good. Condition, and this is where it gets a little harder in that there's a lot of facilities out there. They're well maintained, and let's make a clear distinction that, you know, they're mown, they're taken care of, but they're really, the built facilities are starting to get past their life cycle. We're stretching things beyond, whether it's playgrounds and parking lots and other things. So condition, effectiveness, again, in our estimation, just in going out and evaluating them, maybe not exactly meeting the needs or the relevant needs of the surrounding communities around them. Much that we saw that could be improved in access and linkages to the parks, so really a focus to connect the parks to the neighborhoods around them, and then sustainability and resiliency, which is always something very important. I think Tampa has done amazing things and is currently doing amazing things today, but when many of the parks were developed 30 years ago, it really wasn't a driving force in the design process. So just kind of an overview of what we saw in the park system. Next slide, please. The parks are good. You know, some are much better. What we saw also was kind of a disparity between the big downtown, kind of high-profile parks and maybe a lesser so in the neighborhood and the natural parks. That's not a big surprise. We see that elsewhere where, you know, from the 2008 economic downturn and others where money was cramped, of course, you put more into, you know, kind of the highest visibility areas. But the neighborhood parks and the smaller areas, and particularly the natural areas, probably less improvements than the others. Next, please. Again, this big map you see is our evaluation of a 10-minute walk to any meaningful parks and open space. And if you kind of take out the airport and the Air Force Base, you can see it's a pretty good distribution. You know, that's fortunate, that's extremely fortunate, because making that up can be a really hard thing to do. The acreage for the city is very comparable, or probably better than average for the state of Florida. You know, it's a very broad range, but a good number. Access would probably be the #1 priority that we would look at in the future, is how to improve that in those areas where there are gaps in service, what we can do to provide those meaningful open spaces in areas that don't currently have so. Next slide, please. So recreation programs, we did a thorough evaluation of those, working again hand in hand with staff, and then a sub-consultant to us that really looked at it. But, you know, again, a little bit difficult in that it was during the time of COVID. We did compare numbers from before and watch trends. There are definitely some trends going on. The department does an excellent job in programs. So that really has turned out to be, you know, a very positive thing. You'll see later, 1,000 special events over the course of a year. That's just like outrageous in our industry that a department could do that, and the number of people committed. But, you know, above average range of programs. Next slide, please. You know, here's something that's even more encouraging to me from a positive standpoint. This was a survey of all of the staff within the Parks Department, and when you ask, can I get everything I need to do my job? We're a good process for doing our work. I can improve my work process when necessary. Those numbers are up at 75, 80, 85. That's incredibly high. So that is a great testament that, you know, you have an empowered workforce, really committed to the mission and vision of the department. You know, there are still some things where, like the vehicles, 55% of the vehicles are kind of past their time being stretched out. That just compounds problems with vehicle breakdown and other things. So lots of positive things that we've learned. I mean, these are some of the structural things that I think are very difficult, and I'm glad I don't have to talk about, because that can be uncomfortable, but we would if we had to, but happy today to be saying that there's positives in that regard. Next slide, please. Now for the all-important part, community needs and priorities assessment. Next slide, please. You know, our whole system of parks and recreation, parks are people places. It's our planning process is truly driven by expressed community needs, wants, priorities. We take a great deal of effort into trying to reach out and really include everybody equitably in the process. Our brand for this project was Your Vision for Our Tomorrow. I think we took that to heart. It really is about the people and going out and hearing from everyone. What we like to do is what I call mixed methods research methodology. Lots of different methods, trying to find those things that consistently come to the top. It's not just wants, not just needs, but priorities of people. It's easy to express a lot of wants, but you really have to go through a process to get those to what would you do first? What is the most important? I'll go on with that. But yes, you were right on. Next slide, please. You know, one of the things we did during the COVID period is we had an extensive outreach in what we call our virtual rooms, and we had virtual workshops. These were amazingly popular. When you see 36,000 people participated in that process, it's indicative. We're doing this or have done this in many other large urban areas. People are very used to what I would say is on-demand involvement. They loved the fact they could go to their phone, see all the information, move around the room, and actually have an active input into things. We also had virtual open houses and a whole variety of virtual meetings on top of the other meetings that we had. But when you see what people said, and this may be part of the process here, but walking, wildlife and natural areas, swimming for fun, going to the beach, events and festivals, it's indicative of almost a very clear trend in Parks and Recreation. If you don't work in our world that Tricia and Brad and I live every day, parks are changing a lot. The park system of my parents' generation, my generation, my children's and grandchildren's are going to be a lot different. We're changing as an American lifestyle, as American people, and how we recreate. So we need to be, responsive to that. Next slide, please. So we did a series of focus groups, all of these different groups. Next slide, please. And again, we started to hear some of the same things: prioritize conservation, resilient design, ensure safety, strengthen park connectivity. I won't read each of these off to you, but, trying to secure more funding, creating a hybrid of in-person and virtual. I think that is kind of a trend in recreation, both public and private right now, but a lot of very positive comments and I think encouraging things. Next slide, please. Stakeholder interviews, that include many of you, also some leaders across the city, and we heard again, improved park connectivity. This is what we were hearing from many of you. Establish city's identity and create kind of a cohesive park planning system. As a landscape architect, planner, and designer, you have some Julian B. Lane, some beautiful parks that are out there, but is there a consistent brand and consistent quality across all? Maybe that could be enhanced a little. And I think I heard clearly, and this is everywhere almost in all the things, prioritize fixing what you have before really building a lot more new. And I think that's a clear direction for us. Next slide, please. Again, and one of our most powerful outreach tools really is this statistically valid survey. And I'll spend a little time explaining here. It was what we call random stratified, meaning that we do it in a fashion in which the cup of water taken from the pool is representative of the entire pool. So a great deal of effort goes into that, of reaching out into what is a random group and making sure we're getting clearly demographically representative groups. We also recognize, like most great cities, Tampa is not one place, that sometimes they say I can have a survey for the whole city that is right for the city and wrong for every neighborhood in it. So we really broke the city down into distinct regions and sections so that we could understand, let's say, the more specific needs and priorities of the south versus the north, the east versus the west, or to selective neighborhoods in each, so that when we get down to detailed planning and design, we will know as an overall, but more importantly, what did the people actually living nearby? We can actually take that data to, people that live within 1 mile, people that live within a quarter mile. So a great deal of effort in trying to understand not just, general ideas, but very specifically the people that we would serve and what are their priorities. Next slide, please. Part of that statistical survey is also a whole series of questions of trying to tease out that idea that it's not just about a wish list of wants. The wants are important, but what we try and ask questions that are, as we say, importance and unmet need. what would you do if you only could do one thing? What is most important? What is, now those are similar questions, right? But how people respond and how it is. What's important to us is what we look for are those things on the horizontal scale. The highest importance would be to the right, and the highest unmet need would be to the top. So if you look to the upper right, it would be those things that your community, our community have specifically said are both very important to them and a very high unmet need. So that is how we try to prioritize to saying it's not just things, but it's things that people have really identified in those two categories. And you look at trails, sidewalks, multi-use paths, small neighborhood parks, natural parks and preserves, you know, again, somewhat as consistencies. And this is for facilities. And then just because people respond differently, we also did it, next slide please, as activities. And you can see again, it does kind of talk to what, this is what people told us were their most important recreational activities and the highest unmet need in the upper right corner. But again, outdoor adventure, history, museums, performing arts, I don't know if that is what you would have expected. This is a trend that in my 30 years of doing this, I've seen a real trend towards more what I call at-will recreation. So this is what we heard through this statistical survey. Next slide, please. So it's kind of a summary of the things in both facilities and activities. And next slide, please. You know, here's the good news. You know, one of the hardest parts when we go through all this energy and all this work is what we're looking for is consistency. It proves that all of our different methods are kind of leading to what is, you know, an honest answer. And we got a lot of convergence at the top of what we heard from the community, what we saw, what we researched, what we heard in focus groups, what we heard in community meetings. So it gives us a clear direction or a clear understanding of what we're being told the community wants, not just citywide, but really boiling down to community and neighborhood by neighborhood. So, next slide, please. Kind of the summary of all of this, if you could, next slide. Thank you. You know, the city is changing, and as I alluded to, not only is the city changing and growing and diversifying and densifying, urbanizing, American lifestyles are changing, recreation patterns are changing, so understanding that dynamic so that when we are looking at future programs and especially built facilities that might last 20, 30, 50 years, we're really looking out to the future to make sure that what we're doing is the best, you know, mindset for how to, you know, best utilize your dollars to maximize its benefit. You know, the department, you know, I think they're great. You know, Sharish and I will be speaking at conferences coming up. You know, 1,000 programs. I questioned that, and then they proved it to me, and it's just amazing. You know, gold medal award winner, the best park system in the country. Yeah. Wow. Programs and operations isn't the problem, and it seems like there's a pretty good equitable distribution of parks, but we would still look very much at trying to target into those gap areas. We really want, you know, equitable everywhere, but some of the parks facilities are in need of renovation. I think I spoke with many of you in our discussions. I hope that's not too big of a surprise, but there's things that are just at that life cycle. This isn't like, you know, you hired in a consultant from the outside and they come, oh wow, this is what's wrong, oh my, look at exact. No, this is something that has evolved. It's just kind of eroded. It's taken time of where things are, and in the meantime, there's this shift of demand and of need and of types of facilities that are currently being built for the future, and so it is just time where there's got to be kind of a comprehensive approach to how to catch things up. There's also 16 parks that, you know, have been purchased and aren't really fully developed that, you know, probably should be. Next. What we see and what we heard, what I hear across the country, and I work all over the country, is, you know, this idea of more at-will recreation. That, you know, people really want to go out on their own volition. If you think of, you know, specific starting times and ending times, when I ask people, it's walking, biking, canoeing, kayaking. You know, you might go out on Saturday morning at 10, or it might be 10:15, or it could get delayed and could be 10:30. You know, it's these strict scheduled times is not really meeting our lifestyles. Everybody is too programmed. People are very focused on health and wellness as opposed to strict competition. It's just who we are, and I think there's a lot about nature enjoyment. There's so much that can be done now because knowing, not just being in a natural area, but being able to understand that, I can provide the information virtually. You know, it can be on an app, and you can now not only be in a beautiful natural area, but understand the ecosystem. Fixing existing facilities first. I mean, we will, in ensuing steps here in our implementation, and we're actually starting early, you know, going every single park, every single thing, trying to make sure that we're on tact. And lastly, develop the park system of the future. So we can't just think about what it was or what it is today. We have to be really thinking about, you know, the next 30 to 50 years. So I think that's it. I hope I'm within my time here. Next slide, please.
You know, I can tell that some work has been put into this, but I guess I was looking for a little bit more. For me, I'm looking for to identify. I'm looking to identify those parks that need to be renovated, those parks that need to be torn down, those parks that need friendly, accessible activities for kids. I'm looking to find out what the community wants at a particular park, because I know at times I've got, in the east side, I had a park that's full of a community, but at one point I was only given 800 square feet for a park, which is unacceptable. Where other areas got way more square footage. So I'm looking to, that's what I'm looking to figure out. What are the real needs? Where are they at? What are the communities saying? This is good, sir, but for me, I need to know and be identifiable of communities and what community needs are and what they want in those communities. And then how we bring them all together to make sure across the city it's all equitable. So that's what I'm looking to see and want to see in your report. And again, what is the cost factor over a period of time, over years? How do we get that money? Where do we get it from? How do we get it in? Again, being able to make sure that it's equitable across the board, that everyone's getting the same thing. So that's what I'm looking for.
And I hear you, and I think we're headed in that direction. As you know, here's the last slide, our, you know, next steps here. We've done this learning and exploring. Our next steps is envisioning, really getting down to specifically every improvement to every park, hopefully, you know, in response to what people have said to us, and then developing a comprehensive implementation plan that would be, you know, down to a bench, a playground, this at this park at this time, scheduling that all out in a, you know, detailed kind of program of reinvestment that I think we're pretty good at, of doing a clear and comprehensive implementation plan. But those are our next two steps. You know, I felt it was important, or we felt it was important, step in here and, you know, kind of check in with all of you before we go launching into that next step. So that is a part of our program. Those are our next things we've.
That's the step I'm really interested in. That meat and potato step right there. That's going to be the key of everything. You know, making sure that we have communities that, you know, kids that have Down syndrome, they have all kind of accessory needs. Making sure every community has those type of programs. I mean, I think that's a key, and I think our Parks and Recreation are moving in that direction to try to do that. But just to see, and so the community can see that everyone is getting what they're asking for per se. It may take time, but what are the time frames to get those things done? And again, where we're going to get the money to do the job.
Yeah, and that is very, very on point, because, you know, our next steps here, and I think we do as a company, we're very focused on implementation and big programs of development. And you know, it might take 10 years, and there might be some things that still are beyond because it takes land acquisition or other things. But if you really schedule it out and you look at all the different funding sources, you include grants and all the opportunities, and it's really in it. I mean, I completed a Parks Master Plan for the city of Fort Lauderdale, and today we're doing a program of reinvestment, 100 parks over the next 5 years. And it's targeted down to every single thing of every single one, and just run as a program, and it's not overwhelming. We got to get on a program in that direction.
All right, Councilman Miranda.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I thank you for your report. It's very interesting. And I try around and look around at different parks and what happens to them. It's like a merry-go-round, I believe. And what do I mean by that? When you have a young families living in the neighborhood around that certain park, you're going to have more participation of youth than you are somehow. I've seen parks that peak where they had enormous participation in kids. And through the years, because the people that live there around that park, the good citizens, are not of childbearing age, that park has a lower attendance, and some other park would have a higher attendance. So it moves around, it fluctuates depending on the age factor around the park. And I'm not a park expert, by no means. Let me say that for the record. But I'm just using the park that I played in for a long time, was Cascaden Park. For many years, that park is coming back now with a lot more facilities coming in and kids coming to the park. But for many years, it was just dormant. In fact, there's one softball field left where the Clearwater Bombers used to play against the Powermen way back in the 50s. And that's the only one that's there. The Senior League Park is gone. The two other little field parks are gone. Just about it's all soccer, which is fine. I understand that. But that park, sooner or later, because of the changing of younger people moving in, will have the facilities coming back to the needs of the people around the park. And that's something that we have to look at geographically, how the age barrier area around the park qualifies, because that's what's going to tell us who is going to use that park more. Certainly, the people my age will use it to walk, and I don't mean with a walker, I mean to walk and try to run and do things that they used to do, and think of the things they used to do and make believe you can still do them. And Sharice is laughing at me. And now let me just tell you, there's a challenge between that young lady and myself. And I'm going to let you know when that challenge is. I got to get in a little bit better shape. And it's going to be an 80 years old versus a young lady. And I hate to tell you, the young lady is going to lose.
I think there was a tennis match like that once.
No, it won't be a tennis match. But what I'm saying is that these parks are the lifeline. I remember growing up around that park, and it was really the only thing we had.
Yeah.
And all of us were there. And it creates an understanding how life is, because you meet individuals that are different than you are in size and weight and color and everything else, and you have a better tree line of growing up and facilitating of life. And parks are more than just to play in. It teaches you, whether you know it or not, how to get along with others.
Yeah, you stole my line there, but I greatly agree with whatever it is, everything you've just said, because, you know, they are more than just places to play. It's socialization, it's congregation, it's many of the things that are at the heart and soul of neighborhoods and communities. You know, I'll joke again because I have similar hairline and other things, but, you know, I've worked long enough to criticize my own work. What we really learned from 30 years ago is be more flexible. We can build buildings to be flexible over periods of time and adapt. Don't build such single-use facilities. We can adapt even play fields from, you know, from one sport to another relatively rapidly if we've really planned and designed well in advance, so that we can adjust over time to varying needs. But some things like better walking trails, running, better health facilities, better access to simple things, you know, those we know are there. So get the basics right and build in what we call multi-generational, multifunctional, you know, multi-performance is the key. So you don't get yourself in a box that I built 3 community centers with kiln rooms, you know, okay. That probably wasn't a good idea, and now we'll renovate it. But the flexibility in buildings now, with movable walls, with adaptability to different uses, where they're functional for after school, to evening use, to weekend parties. I mean, they're almost transformers now of what we're building. Even the fields, you know, they can be synthetic, and I can set them up for soccer at this time. It could be U6 at 8 o'clock in the morning. I can be U12 by noon, and I can be playing different sports there on the weekend. Build in that flexibility and that adaptability is really key. So, anyway, great comments, great questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your report. I want to say there is one irony in your report, and that's that the people are asking for public swimming pools.
Mm-hmm.
And the irony there is that the Angus Goss pool that people have been asking for such a long time hasn't done it, and the Baldomero at McFarland Park has just gotten filled in and knocked down. There's an irony there. I can't sing the praises more of Sharisha Hill. She has done so much with Parks and Recreation since she has become on staff. She's done wonderful things. Ms. Hills and Ms. Karen Kress in the audience. There is underused spaces that, in my opinion, we should be using, and that is under our interstate or expressway systems. I drive down Adamo Drive, and I see space underneath the crosstown that could be used for pickleball courts, could be used for biking trails, could be used for walking trails, could be used for half-size soccer fields for youth. I'm hoping in your next report that you're going to report something to the effect of underneath the highways, 275. I believe Ms. Kress has been working on a bike park there.
Mm-hmm.
And again, Adamo Drive. That is in areas where, in my opinion, you could have more parks in the Ybor City area. So I'm hoping in your next report that those underused spaces can be used more efficiently, and we can work with the Expressway Authority on that.
Yeah, and I'm actively involved in the Underline in Miami and other projects that have gone on. I mean, it takes some doing to kind of break through that mindset of this is a train, this is for a rail, or this is for a highway, and you can't use it for anything else, and it's got to be, no. In an urban area, you've got to look at every single space. You know, when you look at, you know, what some cities, Atlanta and New York and others are doing now to fully utilize every available inch. I mean, it can even, utility areas, others have to be comprehensively looked at to maximize the public benefit for open space. There is no more extra land, right? You know, they're not growing anymore. So sometimes it takes an intensive look, but when you really do look, it's surprising that, like the ones you said, there's skate parks on it. I visited the one in Vancouver. Miami just built one. You know, it's right underneath. Kids love it and go crazy. You know, to me, all play is good.
Provide shades on hot summer days.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anybody else? Yes, sir. Councilman Vera.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your report and all your work. I know we all appreciate that 100%. You know, something that had been mentioned, I think Councilman Goods mentioned, and I want to emphasize that again, is the issue of accessible parks. We've talked about that a lot in the city council. We just moved in our CRA to help have the CRA funded CRA areas. Completion of that big disability access deficit that we have in a lot of our parks. Tampa's not unique, obviously, in that regard. A lot of areas have that challenge, but that's something that I really, really want to see magnified here, because whether or not you hear from those families, the cry is out there 110%. Any family with a child who has autism, an intellectual disability, cerebral palsy, whatever it may be, that's a cry for access. So that's something that's very, very important. And we thought it's so important that we want to put CRA dollars to that to help the city in their endeavor to do that. We're having specifically disability accessible parks, one in New Tampa. I know one's going to be coming in East Tampa as well. But I want to see all of our parks have not just full accessibility, but at least one piece of playground equipment that a child in a wheelchair, right, who is not mobile, et cetera, can use. That's something that's so very pivotal. You know, parks are always about how well maintained they are. It's about respect to a community a great deal, and I know you know that 110%. So, you know, upkeeping and maintenance. And also want to talk about values, I think, exhibited through our parks. Through things like memorials. I did a motion maybe about a year ago to try to see to it that we had a veteran memorial at each one of our 4 districts in a park. And my idea behind that was that I think when people go to public spaces, to green spaces, having memorials and markers, et cetera, that speak to the value of a community, heralding somebody who was saluting somebody who was there before, who's noteworthy, talking about our heroes, talking about our history in a way that really, really brings us together, I think is so important in our parks. That's really a place where we can talk about our great Tampa heroes, our Baldomero Lopez's, our Robert Saunders, so many different people in that regard. So I always want that. And obviously, as you said, paying attention to the areas of growth in our city. I know we're seeing a lot of affordable and workforce housing come up in West Tampa. West Shore continues to grow. We hear a lot from south of Gandy. K-Bar Ranch in New Tampa continues to grow, et cetera, and there's a lot of needs out there. So I think continuing to look at that. But again, I wanted to thank you for your report, but just highlight those particular areas just for your consideration whenever the update comes.
Yeah, and the next steps, I think that would be critical in our visioning. That's all wonderful points. You know, the connection to history and culture is really what makes meaningful spaces. A mentor of mine used to call it relevant. The number one word in our industry, it's not parks, it's not play, it's relevant. Am I making a relevant difference in the communities and neighborhoods? So when you can tie it back to history, when you can connect it to people's lives to where it's, what do I say, from the moment they walk out their front door, it is part of the experience. So, that's part of my...
And if I may, and thank you, and if I may, Mr. Chair, the Perry Harvey Park does a great job with that, which is talking about the local history, having memorials there, a lot of different, narratives explained there on history, et cetera. I'd like to see parts of that in all of our parks. Yeah. So that when folks go to parks, they learn about our heroes, they learn about prior figures who came before us. I think, again, values in public spaces is so important. But
values,
thank you.
And you said another one, respect.
Yes,
it's about really, I'm personally connected with the disability community. So when you look at what the people that have wanted to have the recreational opportunity are excited about it, it's really a big part of their lives. My father, my sister, my grandson, that they are excluded because of, that's not right. It's a respect thing. It's a matter of really communicating the people's values into that space. But I think these are all wonderful comments that as we move forward in envisioning and as we come back to you with a comprehensive full plan, including the implementation, and I'm not hiding anything here. I'm going to be coming back with an implementation plan, for your consideration, because it's, we got to move it forward. We try as very much to put it out in a pedantic as possible way, but, don't be surprised if I'm back here talking about what that means.
And if I may, just very briefly, thank you for mentioning about your family. I mentioned about that because my oldest brother's intellectually disabled, so I share that experience. So thank you for speaking to that.
Councilman
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I had to step out a second. I apologize if I repeat anything anybody else said. Constituents, especially during COVID, were spending more time at home in their neighborhoods and in their parks, and they're very upset about the status of parks. They like the parks people and parks programs, but the parks and neighborhoods were neglected, and you said that in your beginning and end slide. The fact that last mayor spent $12 million on a boathouse for rich kids from the Northeast, instead of spending it to fix benches and other things in other parts of the city is just something that people are really upset about. And they're upset that this process has taken so long. Bishop Patty, who's sitting behind you, brought to our attention 2 or 3 years ago, among others, that one of the parks, Fair Oaks in East Tampa, had rats running around the roof of it. And when we went there, we found out that it was fire trap and it didn't have other amenities. What I've been telling people, and if I'm wrong, let me know, but what I've been telling people is that this is a way of objectively looking at parks, where the decisions were made politically or by the whim of an individual before, that we're objectively, through this process, looking at what needs to be done in each park, and that we're going to prioritize the funding, because we don't have enough funding to fix all the parks, but obviously if there are rats in the ceiling, which the city did get rid of, At least they said they did. That will prioritize those parks that have the most immediate needs, and then we'll have a multi-year schedule with funding attached to it. All the public input and all that stuff is great. It's great to have a vision, figure out what else we need to do. But the basic needs of parks, when people are sitting on benches that break or they see windows broken, other things, they want to get those things fixed too. So did you say when you were answering Councilmember Good's question, you are going to have a priority list of which parks and how much money we should spend? We can't, and is the strategy going to be fix everything at one park, or just fix the basic needs across all the parks and then go back to the next level needs and the next level needs?
There's a balancing there because, of course, it is more efficient to do things once you're there. But I wouldn't say it's do one whole park. We usually develop criteria, mutually agreed upon. Of course, health and safety number one. Then there are top priority needs due to, the deteriorating condition could actually lead to more deterioration, a hole in the roof. So we have criteria that we try to apply that is, again, objective and really do everything. We try to look at every single improvement that's needed, and whether that gets scheduled out in the next 10 years in a clear 5-year CIP or a 1-year action plan, and even if then nothing goes away, but it may end up in a 10+ year category, so that it's still kept track of, there's still follow-up on it. We heard that pretty clearly too. It was a lot about, how can we be talking about more when,
So we're about to go through budgeting. When will we have the first list of the priorities so that we can start to prioritize the budget?
Probably not as you go into this year's cycle of budgeting. We're hoping to have it, if you could call it the next slide, probably by draft by September.
And what would you recommend in this budget then? How would we prioritize what we need to do now?
That's a hard question. I'll try and contemplate what we could do now, but any amount of help towards those to be able to more thoroughly, like we didn't go into every building and do a thorough evaluation of every building. That wasn't in there, but we're going to have to. Sometimes getting things done quickly is about making sure they're shovel ready. Do I have architectural plans? Do I have permits? Can I move them ahead? And then sometimes it's easier to get the funding, right? Because there are different ways to fund things. So there were parts of our work that I think you could do as advancing, and I think there's some lists we could work with Sharisha and Brad on developing on just those things that are immediate that could be helpful now, but I try not to get too far ahead of myself until we've gotten to the comprehensive and an agreed upon list.
Just the most important word for me as we go forward in budgeting is to have the word is objective or objectivity, that we have an objective look at the condition of these so that we can clearly say, and the administration can clearly say, we're not putting money in certain areas for political reasons. We're trying to provide equitable solutions throughout the city, and if certain parks are in worse condition, we at least want to bring them up to the level of others before we start giving new parks $12 million boathouses.
Yeah, and I think we're at arm's length. No one has told me anything other than do my professional job. So,
Councilman Good, we'll wrap it up there and go to public
right.
comment.
And I'm glad you said that, sir. We talk about transparency now. My biggest concern is that a lot of times when I look at some of these master plans or that we approve to get funded for, to bring to this council the real story, sometimes we don't get that sometimes. So I'm going to make sure that when this plan comes, you're bringing us the real story, not what somebody craft where you want to go, but being able to say, this is what I do, this is what our company sees, here it is, sir. We're not going to go around or kind of change or cut and paste anything, because sometimes when you're getting paid, sometimes you go by what the payee is paying you to do. So I just want to make sure when you bring it to us, you say this is because you're hearing what council is asking. This is what we want to see when you bring it to us, so we can be able to approve funding going into a budget year or so forth and so on. But I just want to make sure that, like Mr. Carlos said, we're pinpointing the necessities and the needs, making sure that we're able to do what we need to do for these different communities.
Well, I will hope in a more clear and pragmatic way. I mean, we can talk about criteria and we can talk about other things, but you know, this is what we do, and my whole reputation stands in the fact that I don't do that. So,
And I'm glad you said that, sir. Thank you.
You know, it certainly does have to be, and there are intangibles and there are things, because you're not standing still. The city's doing lots of other stuff at the same time, so sometimes it's, you know, how does this work with the Tampa Moves program? And am I about to do something that will be in cooperation, or do I need to wait 1 year so it matches up with the sustainability initiative for along the waterfront? You know, sometimes it's, you gotta key them to make sure that they're working with what the 40 other initiatives are working across the city. We're not in a vacuum here. So we try to be as strategic as possible, maximize the benefit of the dollars, but there's no question, there's just a big need. You know, and it's not, you know, oh wow, you need a big shiny object over here. There's just a lot of stuff in a lot of places.
Thank you very much. All right, do we have anybody registered for public comment on this item, Danielle? We do not. Do we have anybody in the public that wishes to speak on this item, item number 2, regarding the park master plan? I see no one. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Before we go to 4 and 5, I know that quite a few folks need to be out by 12 o'clock. Will item number 4 be very lengthy? I know there are issues that, you know, they've been months in the process, and we have people from the public here, but
It may be.
it may be. Okay,
It
can
is
we
okay to move, yes.
can we do number 5 first, and then we'll take to try to
Absolutely,
get everybody
Chair.
else by lunchtime? I know we have some.
Absolutely, and we
Okay.
thank you.
So we'll go to number 5. Yes, ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry. Item number 3.
Second.
Wait, Ms. Johnson-Velez, do you need to explain why we're continuing this item, or no?
I can do so briefly, Mr. Chair, if you would like.
Okay, sure.
Susan Johnson-Velez, Senior Assistant City Attorney. So just to enhance a little bit what's mentioned in my memo, there has been pending litigation on a property in Rattlesnake Point that has delayed your discussion. And so council considered a settlement agreement and approved a settlement agreement. The ordinance implementing that settlement will be presented for second reading next week on May 5th. And
Okay.
so we'd like to delay
Sure.
to give the appeal period a chance to run. So this June 23rd date is the first date after which that appeal period would have run, the first workshop date. And so we don't anticipate at this point that any further continuances will be requested.
All right, do we have a motion to continue? Councilman Vieira? Yes. Councilman Vieira with the second from Councilman Citro, all in favor? Aye. Okay, item number 3 has been continued to June 23rd, 2022. We will take up item number 5.
And may I, sir? Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
We had some, and thank you, sir, we had some speakers. I see Chief Burkaw here. I know we have Freddie Barton, who's here as well from Safe and Sound Hillsborough, and our friends from Rise Up for Peace. I see Bishop Patty. Here's Jay and Ms. Brown, who's here. Just to go for it, if that's amenable.
All right, go ahead.
And after they're done, I'd like to speak, but obviously
Yes, sir.
after.
Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Council. Assistant Chief Lee Burkaw here on behalf of Chief Mary O'Connor to discuss our programs for victims of crimes. And as you all know, victims of crimes are our unsung hero, and that's who we're here to serve and protect. It's our goal to actually prevent the crime from occurring, but if it does, to be there for the victims. And you can see by the stakeholders that we have here together that we're in this together, and it's a collaborative effort. So I'd like to highlight just a few of the things we're doing, and then let our stakeholders advise what they're doing. But as you know, and I've seen, I'm sure you've seen, Chief O'Connor is very passionate about victims of crimes and the wellness of the community. That includes the officers, it includes our community members, and especially victims of crimes. And that's one of the first things she did here, is take a close look at what we're doing and what we can do to improve. And in that aspect, she's already started a comprehensive development phase of improving our crime advocate program. And that consists of several items. And one of that is assistance with the Crime Victims Compensation Fund. And that's through the Florida Attorney General's office. And that money is there, but getting assistance to get that money for victims of crimes, whether it's helping complete a form, whether it's doing paperwork, transportation, that's all part of her plan. The other thing is crisis, and that's always something we talk about as behavioral health, is the crisis of individuals and what they go through. And that's something that we're partnering with the Crisis Center and our behavioral health unit actually has a mechanism in place and a funding that can assist victims of crimes in crisis. So that's already something that we have budgeted that's available for us. Transportation, I touched on that before. That's something that we do. We actually do it really well, and we provide transportation methods beyond just riding in a marked police car, something that's discreet. In addition to that, I think you heard from Gary Wiseman this morning about what the state attorney's office does with victims of crimes. And then the other thing that Chief O'Connor is focusing on is the Franciscan Center, Operation Restore. Not sure if you've heard of that before or not, but it is for first responders, but she is working with them and exploring a 4-day retreat for victims of crimes. And we've already had those initial discussions, and we are looking at several grants that might meet that opportunity. So currently, we are working closely with the state attorney's office. We are working closely with our community. You see Rise Up for Peace here. It's the victims and their families can be our greatest asset. And Rise Up for Peace, Bishop Patty, and Safe and Sound are definitely our greatest assets and working together with that. So I think that would be a good transition for whoever would like to speak next.
Good morning. Freddie Barton with Safe and Sound Hillsborough. We, of course, are tasked with the difficult challenge of preventing and reducing violence in our communities. Part of that is making sure that we give voices to victims and their families. As you all know, in the city of Tampa and Hillsborough County in general, we are starting to see an uptick in violent crime. We are also seeing an uptick in shootings throughout our community. 65 is where we are, which includes fatal and non-fatal. When we look at these incidents that are happening, we have to know that we have to provide direct support to those victims and their families. We've already heard that TPD has an effort to mobilize officers out into the community to reach with families. What Safe and Sound is developing, both in the city as well as the county, is a community response team. And that community response team almost mimics what's happening for our nonviolent mental health crisis moments, where we are going to coordinate the efforts of a mental health clinician. We have a faith-based partner, we'll have a community partner that will primarily serve as that point of contact for those families in the community when something happens, to provide crisis intervention, psychoeducation, ongoing counseling, case management, advocacy, and then referrals to outside community partners. That's going to be anchored through Safe and Sound, and we've already had some initial talks with our law enforcement agencies to have a point of contact to be connected to dispatch, so that when something happens in the community, we can mobilize those efforts. As some of you may know, last year in November, December, the county asked Safe and Sound to lead a gun violence prevention effort, and this is going to be a component of that. We can't do that, though, unless we have organizations like Rise Up for Peace, our Pastors on Patrol, Tampa Coalition of Clergy to come to us and let us know how they can assist with this, and then we provide some technical assistance and resources along the way. When we look at restorative justice, we, as most of you may know, we operate a reporting center for youth and juvenile offenders. Unfortunately, we stay busy because every day we have youth that are on our juvenile detention docket. And we see that we're working with them to try to turn them around, but one component that's missing is the meeting between the youth offenders and then their victims. And we're building that component to have a Victims Voices project so that they can face their victims and those families and talk about what led them to get down this path. Something that we are working with youthful offenders on weapons charges and guns is that we're taking them over to funeral homes. We're taking them to the emergency room. We're taking them to see what happens when these things happen. When you do something and you're thinking in the moment, you forget completely that there are families that are going to be affected by this for the rest of their lives. For you to see what happens in a trauma center, for you to see what happens in a funeral home and how it takes when Mr. Goose and his group starts working with that, and the pain that lives not just in the family but in the community, you as the offender need to see that so that if you don't get it, someone else along the way will. And we're trying to put that component together to give support for the victims and families of these crimes that are being happening. And we certainly, we are so grateful for the support that we have with Tampa Police Department, our Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, all of our agencies that make up the interlocal group of Safe and Sound. And we stand at the ready to provide technical assistance, some education, some lifting up off the ground for any pilot projects that can be a part of this. So we stand at the ready. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Council. My name is Bishop Michelle B. Patty. I'd like to start off by thanking you, Councilor Vieira, Councilman Aniscalco, for putting this on the agenda. When my husband and I had our sons 25 years ago, it was our prayer that they would reach the age of 21. Reaching the age of 21, we felt like that would be manhood and they would be able to go on in life. However, one of our sons, Byron Patty Sr., when he turned 21 on February the 10th, April the 23rd, he was murdered 2 months later, leaving a 8-month-old child behind, a son, Byron Patty Jr. Here, 11 years later, that child, our grandson, was murdered. And in the first instance, we had to find the killer ourselves. I went out, we put out flyers, we went everywhere around the community for years until we found the killer. Now, when our grandson was murdered, things was a little different. We had the community that supported me, called me, gave me the person name. And I'm saying all this to say that things have not changed. It actually has gotten worse. Now children are not living to even become 13, 12, 14 years of age. They're being murdered in the streets. You say, how can we prevent this? We need to find out where the guns are coming from. The children in Robles and Belmont Heights Estate are not bringing the guns in. Someone is bringing those guns into them, and they're also bringing drugs. We have a drug issue that is going on in elementary school. The effect that it have on the family, as I stand here today, I'm just still reliving the events of watching our son in a hotel room lying down on the floor, murdered. My husband didn't know how to cope with it because he was told men don't cry, men don't show feeling. But years later, I had to seek counseling for that same husband. Our other son, who was a student at Bethune-Cookman College, refused to go back to school at that point. But I thank God that later on he did attain his BA degree. Our grandson that I just raised, and he will be 19 on this Friday, the effect of his cousin still bothered him today. He was a young tart when his cousin was killed, and he carried a locket. I just watched it last night on his neck. So the pain never go away. The pain is always there. That family member is missed, holidays. I can hear a song or just think about the smile or something that they might have said that would bring it crashing back down to me. And as I get ready to close, on just day before yesterday, I was at a salmon shop on MLK. And a young man, I just engaged him about what he was doing in life and what was going on. Come to find out, this young man knew my grandson. And this young man, when he got to, he's 30 years old now. And I thought about, wow, when my grandson had a child, what would he be doing at that time? And this young man gave me the biggest hug. And he told me, he said, we're still supporting you all. We're still praying for you. That just give us the strength to go on. I would like to say something about Chief O'Connor. We have been meeting. I'm a small group that has been meeting with her since she's been appointed. She's at the forefront of trying to see about doing some things. We're very grateful to her. This group, we come with suggestions, ideas that I'm hoping that the city council, the sheriff department will implement these ideals. So we say thank you and hats off to her. And I want to thank the mayor because the mayor seemed to be engaging and trying to see what we can do. Because I want you all to understand, it might appear to be a blight problem now in a black community, but guns are being fired everywhere. If you just looked at the Little League, these kids out playing baseball, they're hearing gunfire, they're ducking. This should not be. children should be able to go to those parks, should be able to have a good time, not worry about will they be murdered in the parking lot or on the field. So we're glad that you all are bringing this forward, but there is things that we can do if we really want to, and if we really want to put the monies there. But I also like to caution, when we throw money out here, that we be transparent, that we follow up on where the dollars are being spent. We be transparent and follow up on the dollars, who's getting these dollars and what they're actually doing with the dollars. Because Rise Up for Peace, and I'm just gonna say this about Jay, he's a humble man, and he'll talk about his story, but this is someone that has been on the ground, he and Miss Patricia doing the job that they should be compensated for. Nobody is giving them gas, nobody is doing anything, but I would like to see dollars put in the hands of people like these that are actually out here and has the respect of the peers that are doing the violent crime. And there's another program that I talked to the mayor, Chief O'Connor about, Sheriff, about implementing that kids be approached before they get in trouble. Everything, the parents can't get in help until the children commit a crime. There should be prevention, and there's a program that I think that will not save everyone, but it will save a few. So we thank you for your time.
Thank you, Bishop Patty. You know, I can't imagine the suffering and the pain that your family's gone through with everything that you've described, and you're not the only person. I mean, there's so many in the community, and I never understood gun violence. Why people resort to, I mean, murder, death it's a permanent thing. You know, it's not like, oh, you know, you punch somebody in the face, you broke their nose. I don't understand why. And at 13 years old, 12 years old, they're kids. They're kids. You know, and something that you said is preventative. We have to reach out to these young people before they get in trouble. And I remember something that happened to me. We had a friend named Judge Vince Giglio, who was a local judge. And he handled the juvenile courts. And when I was maybe 12 or 13 years old, not that I was a bad kid, but he took me to his courtroom. And he said, this is the holding cell. This is the bathroom that they have to share, or the toilet, because it wasn't a bathroom. This is what happens when you get in trouble. This is what, and it I don't want to say scared me enough, but it taught me enough of a lesson that I said, I don't want to be in that situation. But it was preventative. And I think, you know, we need to reach out to these young people early on and influence them in a positive way. So again, to prevent anything from, you know, prevent even getting the idea of resorting to gun violence or thinking anything violent or any kind of criminal activity. And that's where we begin. But
That's
I appreciate
exactly the program that I want to implement, to take them to the jail cell, to see where you would sleep at, where you would eat at, that there's no Uber, there's no food on demand that's coming there. That's the program that we need to, and it's called What's Really Happening, because a lot of young people who's coming out of jail, they're telling them it's a picnic. If they go see for themselves that you have to do your business in front of other people, our kids will not want to do that. And at 12 and 13, their mind has not developed. They have a gun, they're a big person, so they just shoot it. So you're absolutely right. But that's the program that I would like to enter. And I was a child that went down to the courthouse and watched and heard the courts, and it did help. I've never been to jail. Thank you so much.
There you go. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. Jay Johnson, Johnny Johnson. I'm here standing up, Rise Up for Peace. My experience with gun violence, my son was murdered. First murder of January 2017. Following that, I had 3 first cousins murdered as well. So me being in my application for the senseless gun violence is personal. I literally have blood on the street of Tampa, and I'm really out here trying to clean it up. I'm blessed to, just like the chief police, have a second chance to be an asset to my community, be a good pillar, be a good continuity, Rise Up for Peace. Can I just read y'all our vision statement and our mission statement? Rise Up for Peace vision statement is to build bridges of compassion by embracing peaceful practices, reintroducing a community of brotherly and sisterly love as a sense of oneness. Our mission statement is to provide emotional support to families who have lost loved ones to senseless violence, uniting as one voice, one sound against violence with poise, strength, dignity and the collective thoughts by joining forces with police officers, public officials, police officers, and like-minded organizations who have the heart for the hurting, helpless, and hopeless individuals who are seeking closure and committed to the sole purpose of ushering peace, love, and unity back in our community. And that's our foundation. This is a human right issue, the gun violence that's plaguing our community. Like the bishop and previous person, it's a national issue. It's nowhere safe. Us at Rise Up for Peace is literally trying to be, when my son was murdered, just like our founder, Patricia Brown, all we had was each other. We build drug facility for drug addicts. We put things in place for people that visit Trumbull. So as Rise Up for Peace, we thought it was right to come together and have a place so when a family experienced a trauma, that we wake up living, every parent's worst nightmare is losing our child. No one want to bury their child. It's like the bishop said, it's an ongoing, every day is a struggle. Because you see us smile, because you see us laughing. For us, this is therapeutic. And knowing and having a place for a family to turn to, because the state attorney's office is only open, sir. Murders and shootings happen any time of the day, any time of the night. And having someone that you can call on and not know what you're going through, but have an understanding and have empathy for a person is vital. If I'd have had that initially, it would have done a lot for myself and my family. Of course, it's a domino effect. I have other kids, so they dealing with trauma and mental health issue with losing their siblings as well. So we definitely work close with the police department, the city of Tampa, the mayor's office. We couldn't do it without it, but it takes everyone hands on deck. I'd like to thank you, Councilman Lewis, for all your help and support in keeping this on the forefront because, again, it's hurting families. We have a lot of cold cases, and that can bring a lot of change the atmosphere if we do something. And doing something is better than doing nothing at all. So thank y'all for your time. We look forward to support from each and every one. And I would like to give you the definition of support before I leave. Support is to uphold, or hold up, or give encouragement. And anyone that is successful have support. And that's what Rise Up for Peace is looking for, trying to be a vital part of our community by getting support to give support. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Councilman Goods.
You know, I see Freddie here.
Hi, everyone.
I've talked to Freddie and gave Freddie my suggestions. Talked to JL numerous times, and so working with young people ain't something new to me. I know what we need to do. We just got to have people to believe in to get it done. See, there's an answer, gentlemen, but you got to want to do it. You know, see, I buried Jay's son, so nobody can need to thank me, or no one needs to. I've been there to understand on the ground level from day one. See, what we have to have is two things. We have to change our thinking in our communities. We have to be able to make sure we get back to the old teachings of black folks, to where we're able to mentor our young men. That's what I got to find. I got to find more men to be able to bring that infection to them. And once I can do that, I'm going to save some. I may not get all. Right, Freddie? I may not get all. But if I can find a bunch of men who, not just because a week or two, I need them for a while, 6 months to a year to be a part of that. I need them because now they'll understand what success is, that they don't have to be in the streets. They don't have to do this thing because they're around someone who loves them, who's going to give them that support. Who's going to say, hey, I'm going to get you a job. I'm going to check on you every day. I'm going to take you here, there, so you can see those other experiences that other people are seeing. That's all they want. They don't want to be out there. Secondly, we talked, Miss Patty talked about the guns. You know, I told the former chief before, you got to spend money. When crack was a big deal, we spent money to find the crack dealers and all this kind of stuff to get the slow crack down. There's no difference. We need to have buy money to go in to find out who's selling these guns. I hear all the time there's a big U-Haul truck that comes into the community every week and they can go in and buy guns. I've heard that several times. So we got to be able to spend money to do what we need to do, to get rid of some of these guns and put some of these people in jail. If you kill people, you need to go to jail. Period. You got a gun, you need to suffer the consequences. And I believe in that. Miss Patricia, Jay, they're out there hustling every week trying to get people to do what they got to do. Every week. Every week. And I applaud their efforts. I've been to their events. We need more people to be a part of their group. You know, we need the whole community at their rallies. Because when people see that, they'll be a part of that. I'm with Jay 100%, Miss Patricia. Anything they need, they know I'm there for them. I just need to be able to get some more men to go out there and help me pull some of these young men in to give them another opportunity. That's what I need. I need that kind of help, Freddie.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am?
I'm sorry.
We know you heard Miss Patricia. We know you heard me.
My name is Patricia Brown. I'm the founder of Rise Up for Peace. My son, Devontae Brown, was murdered 2 years ago, March the 20th, coming home from work. Got caught in the crossfire of guys coming to shoot in Tampa Park and some more guys. He's trying to run out the way, got hit in his back. Heart blew out, blew his heart out instantly, killed instantly. Son never been in trouble. Nothing, just graduated from Job Corps. Been working at Home Depot for 7 years, even while he was at home working in Job Corps. Never bothered no one. Never even had an argument of 27 years of his life with no one, not even a fight. This is the reason why I formed Rise Up for Peace, for parents like myself and other parents and fathers like Jay, to not go through the same thing, the hurt of what I'm going through. Again, my thing is to find a thing to go find, not find parents, to help parents to come and console each other, get them somewhere to come if they don't have no one to talk to. Not even, I just sometimes have to talk about, just listen to what they're going through. That's therapy enough for them, because I know it was for me. Just for somebody just to hear me and just sit there, hear what I had to say, and just let me cry out my hurt. My thing is, what I'm trying to do also is, I know we can't stop the gun violence because it's happening every day. But my thing is, I'm trying the best that I can to try to do something that I can do so another parent don't have to go through what I'm going through, and other parents that is out there that don't have nowhere else to go. I've been working with the Tampa Police Department from day one when they called me and asked me to do a press conference. And I came and did a press conference. I asked them, what is it that I can do? I don't know how to go about doing it. Is to get an organization or some kind of thing I could do for other, like I said, other parents have to go through what I'm going through, the hurt they have to go through. This is something that you never get over with. This is not a pain or headache or toothache or something that you just take up something, leave or Tylenol or something and get over with. It's something that you have to go through, pain that you have to deal with every single day of your life. I could be standing here talking to you, smiling right now. I could turn my back and break down and cry because of the pain that I go through. It's not something that just doing it just to be doing it. It just comes naturally. I'm sorry.
That's why it's so vital that we all come together as a community, as a city, to be an example. We can lead the way. Why not us? Why not this city council body? Why not this police department? Why not the city of Tampa? Why not us make the difference that our community needs? And it's all it is, just a little empathy, understanding that it affects us all. Your kids go to school with someone, know someone that got killed. It affects them. Look at the councils that they have at any mass shooting at any school. We don't have that in our neighborhood. We are our own councils. We are our own support team. That's why we at Rise Up for Peace are trying to build that, have a facility so a parent, if it's 3 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, 5 o'clock, whenever they experience what we have experienced, they have someone they can reach out to and be there for them, and we be that vital lifeline to give them resources, have resources. And like Patricia said, just sit down and listen. You wouldn't imagine the countless time we spend on the phone together, crying to each other, trying to get through the day, to come up with something to keep the community aware of what's up. On the phone, talking, breaking down with each other, trying to give back, because we know what the hurt feel like. Like you said, we can't go to Tampa General, we can't go to St. Joseph, we can't go to Advances Health and get no painkiller to kill the pain that we deal with each and every day. But we can help some other family. We can offer some other support. And that's all we're trying to do. But we need support and we need help from everyone. And it takes all hands on deck. It takes everyone. It's not a East Tampa, it's not a Patricia thing, it's not a Jay thing. It's all of our, responsibility.
Thank you. Councilman
Jay, what do you think about this? Maybe we can get with our neighborhood liaison and maybe those groups like FAN or whatever, and maybe get a coalition like you're talking about, and you're talking about everybody in the city, and have those organizations to have that outlet when we have these situations that they can come to. You got Ms. Bell, they got the senior groups. They meet 3 times a week over there. You have a lot of the other community groups to where you might can have what you're talking about. We find a foundation to build that to where we can have a place like you're talking about, that we have people who've been through that as well, but also know how to comfort as well. I think that could be a good idea. Nothing but to try. Freddie?
If I could respond to that.
Please come into the podium so we can get you on the microphone.
I know sometimes our boundaries get in the way of progress. And so we have 2 facilities, and I took Jay to one of them. It's close enough to the city because it's right there by the fairgrounds and the casino over at Kings Forest Rec Center. That's where we have our youth offenders that commit these offenses. We take them over there, we work with them. We will keep those doors open for families, for victims and their families. If we want to create a schedule and we bring these mothers and fathers and they need a space to grieve, to talk, to fellowship, we will provide that for them. We have another facility in Town and Country because this is broader than the city of Tampa. This is our entire area. So we stand at the ready. We will, and I'm going to say this quietly, we will feed them. We will make sure that we have our doors open, and all we need is the support from both city and county to say boundaries be damned, and here's an opportunity to serve these victims and their families, and let's do it together. I'm with you. We need men standing at the ready. We need our families. We need support. The crisis center. We need the Department of Health. We need our hospitals. We have our law enforcement agencies. And then we can coordinate all that together. But we are ready right here, right now, over at our 2 facilities to provide that space. And we don't want to be the ones to do it. We want the ones who are feeling that pain to help those who are in pain. And we will provide that connection as well.
With all due respect, and I can appreciate what you and the councilman just said, but we need to be talking about prevention. Absolutely. Not a whole nother coalition of where we can grieve and cry. I'm a pastor of a church. We have a lot of outlets, and I appreciate what you're doing, but it need to be more focuses on prevention, because you have 12 and 13-year-old kids who have seen their loved ones murdered. Nothing has been done about it. So now their position is, well, I better get that one before they get me. So that's what we really need to concentrate on. Yes, we got to do hand in hand, but I don't want to see more and more places where people can go cry. I want to see some happy days. So that's well and good. I appreciate it, but I don't want it to be lost on prevention to stop what's going on. And the guns, we can shut it down because we have good law enforcement that can find out and infiltrate how these guns are done. We've seen a big drug gun buy out in Brandon or at the mall. They can do undercover and find out. If we can go, I always say, if we can go get Osama bin Laden, we can find these people who bring these guns into this city. Ms. Patricia wanted to say something else, but let's not lose while we're here. It's about prevention.
All right. My thing is to, not only did I say I want to have parents come with, have somewhere to talk. My thing is to, like I talked to Freddie, and I know I spoke to you about that too as well, kids. Reach the kids now when they're young, now, before they get influenced and see somebody they think, young kids now, they see somebody that they're doing something, they gonna feel like they gonna wanna do it too because it look good to them. And then next time you turn around, they mess their whole life up and now they're in prison for the rest of their life, or their parents got to go through the same thing that I'm going through. Because I want to reach the kids now to try to find something for them, like an after-school program or something that it is that I can do, that we can do as a community and help to reach out to these kids. I know it's boys and girls clubs and recs and stuff like that as well as to but some kids need some things to do, to go like on field trips or things like that. Things like that. And this is what I want to do. This is what I'm trying to reach. Like I said, kids. My big thing is kids. Kids. I can't keep saying it over and over. Kids is what I'm trying to reach. So another parent has to go through what I'm going through. And two, not only that, the kids will see, like Freddie take the kids to see what's going on. They have something to think. They can think twice about what they're going to do out there in the streets or whatever. Let me get myself together and make a better life for myself or whatever it is. Have the resources for them to have those. If it's nothing but education skills, whatever it is that's out there for them to have, something out there for the kids. Because some of these stuff out here, these kids don't have nothing to offer them. They're just out in the streets and now don't want to go to the parks. I'm not saying that the parks is bad or not, but they don't have nothing. Going to the park is nothing for them to just play. They got something to keep them busy, keep them going, and make them successful. That's what I want for the kids. You know what I'm saying? So to keep their mind occupied so when they grow up, I don't want to look back and say, I don't want to be like Johnny. I don't want to be like Joe out there in the streets and all they do is be in trouble all the time, or this is what happened to them, this is what they're doing. I don't want to be like that. Thank God, my kids, they had the opportunity to grow up in the Boys and Girls Club, and they had programs and field trips, even on the weekends, for them to do basketball, football, whatever it is. I'm not saying that we don't have it now, and the parks don't have it, but it's something to keep them going, especially on the weekends. Parks are closed on the weekends. So that get the kids free time. School finna be out now. A lot of kids not going to the Boys and Girls Club. They're not going to the parks. They're gonna be roaming the streets free. Give them something they can be able to go to and have it. We could go here and we'll have something free to go to. This is what I'm saying. That's all I have to say.
Councilman Viera.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to thank you guys for coming. Freddie, obviously, and Chief, y'all do a wonderful job. But Bishop, Patricia, and Jay, I've told you all this before. I'm going to say it again, that there's so much to be said about going public with something that's such a big hurt, the kind of hurt that no one can understand unless if you've gone through it in a public forum, and I appreciate it 100%. I know that Chief O'Connor put forth a memo with some great ideas that I think are really wonderful to have our city support actively, continue to support actively with budgetary, monetary investments, victims of crime. For me, this is a very ignored issue. We don't hear a lot about it. Whenever the media talks about crime, they talk about it in a way, and no offense to the media who's here, by the way, I'm not doing the Donald Trump thing, but whenever the media often talks about crime, it's often about the scary part of it, the neighborhood's scared, this and that. But every time there's a rape, every time there's a murder, every time there's a robbery, you've got a victim who's left behind and who's scared and whose security has been violated. And we need to talk about that all the time. And I always say, it doesn't matter where you live. Violent crime is your issue. It's your crisis. Everywhere. We see a lot of stats in Sulphur Springs, in East Tampa, University area, parts of West Tampa. But if you live in Tampa Palms, if you live in Hunters Green, if you live on Bayshore, if you live in Palmacia, it's your issue too. And you can't read about it in the Tampa section of the Tampa Bay Times and go, oh, that's not my problem. I got a gated community. It's your problem. It's all of our problems, no matter where you live. And that's why I wanted to put this forth, because y'all's story, your tears, everybody has got to see. I want to see outrage in our city, not just in the affected parts, throughout all of our city. This Saturday, we have a Rise Up for Peace rally. I want to see people come out to that, outside of these areas, from Tampa Palms, from Bayshore, from all over, because there's got to be just some outrage. This is an issue of values. It's an issue of compassion. It's an issue of family. It's an issue of empathy. But it's also an issue of social justice. Yes. Social justice. that just because you live somewhere doesn't mean that you ought to be a victim of crime. And people who don't live in those areas should be outraged by it. And there's something that I always see a lot with Rise Up for Peace, which is y'all engage the police. The police are your partners in this. Some people say defund the police. Y'all say fund the police,
Right.
engage the police, support the police.
Right.
And that for me is, and I know for all of us, by the way, up here, I know we all agree with that, all members of council agree with that, in supporting our local law enforcement, 110%. So I see some very good ideas that are put forth that I like a lot. I like the engagement with the Franciscan Center. I know Sister Ann Dougherty, who is a wonderful woman who makes me proud to be Catholic. She's just a wonderful person. The part that I like a lot too is seeing the city prospectively involved in monetarily supporting victims of crime. Jay, you talked about this to me. Again, we've met a number of times, and y'all have taught me a lot of things that you can't know unless if you've gone through it or you're talking to someone who's gone through it. But Mr. Johnson here always says, when your kid's murdered, you got to pay the mortgage. You got to pay the car payment. You got to pay the car insurance, the heating, the electricity. But you know what? If you're working hour for hour at Target or at McDonald's or at Walgreens or wherever, you can't make it happen all the time. I want to see our city to supplement those programs so that we continue to have stakeholder status in this. And I'm appreciative of the work the Tampa Police Department does. Assistant Chief here, you know, this is something that y'all live 110% every single day. You know, when you go to a crime scene, you see the victims of crime, and I can't imagine the emotions that gives rise there. So I'll be making some motions at the end. Another thing I'll make a motion on as well, I've spoken to the administration about this, is to see, I'm all about memorials today, what can I say? But is to see a memorial for victims of crime and for victims of gun violence in our city. We really need to see that. And again, is that going to do anything in solving crime or anything? Absolutely not. But I think it's good. And y'all talked about, and briefly, if I may, for 30 seconds, Mr. Chair, y'all talked about preventing crime, giving people hope. You know, last week, I think it was, we talked about the returning citizens ordinance and making sure that people who are leaving incarceration got hope, got training. We did the apprenticeship ordinance. A lot of these things we got to talk about. You got to have a holistic view of crime, of going after violent crime, being tough on violent crime, but also being tough on the causes of that violent crime. But today is about the victims in y'all's story. I want everyone in Tampa to hear your story. People outside of the area, people in the area who know it, 110%. I think that's so important for empathy. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you guys, and God bless you.
Councilman Miranda and then Councilman Carlson.
The Rise Up for Peace event, 90% chance of rain this Saturday, so we're moving it to the 21st, which we actually think will be better because that's the week before school gets out, so we think we'll get more youth at that date.
Yes.
Councilman Miranda, then Councilman
Thank you,
Carlson.
Mr. Chairman. I agree with most of the things that Councilman Vieira said, but I have one little difference. I believe if that is successful, the memorial, understanding who has passed away by gun violence, that people have a perspective. When you see it on TV, it's a 20 or 30-second thing because they got so many things to cover on the radio that in the memory, it sees it. The eye see it, the mind, but it doesn't remember it because there's so many things that are coming at one time. And that's a fact, I believe. However, I think if people see it, they will understand it. It ain't one or two or five or six, it's hundreds of them.
Thank you.
And thousands of them. And this country's got an epidemic.
Yes.
And the problem is, you can cure an epidemic with a vaccine. You can't cure gun violence with a vaccine. And what you folks have done, I don't think I had the courage to stand up here what this lady had to say about her family and yourself. I never knew that, what you said, Ms. Patty, about your family. I never knew that. So you enhanced me today on something that I didn't know. And the gentleman, I think I've talked to him once or twice casually on other things, and I didn't know that either about your family. So there's so many stories that have to be said about gun violence that it's just, there are no boundaries, no street address that is immune to gun violence. And it happens when one individual, many years ago, started with one gun in some little park, and some kids that are 8, 9, 10 years old, see this kid 13 or 14 with a gun with a bunch of money on him, and He said, where'd you get that money? Well, I sell drugs. Why don't you join me? Something to that effect. And that starts, all of a sudden you got 2, you got 4, you got 10, you got 10,000 of them. Not to say that this is what's happening.
Right.
But when you see that, it takes the energy, it takes the family, it breaks them apart. And those kids are hard to be broken because they see that money and they see the gun and they put it together that I can be driving a new car, I can be doing this, I don't have to get a job. These are the things that are memorialized in the minds of society.
Yes.
And you folks, the 5 of you here, have done so much in this little piece of time that you've received here that it's more than any grant can afford to give, because you have said it from your heart that you've experienced it. No one in this council here has experienced, that I know of anyway, what you folks have experienced. So there's something to have to say that what you've done today is possibly setting the footprint for something to happen and be built on. And that's what I'm hoping for. And I'll help you in any way that I can.
Thank you.
Councilman Carlson.
Thank you for sharing your stories. I've heard some of them before, but still heartbreaking to hear your stories. Thank you so much for sharing them, and I'm glad you all are here in person so we can hear them in person now instead of just downstairs on TV. Thank you all for your advocacy and your volunteer work. Talking about solutions, first of all, I'm happy to meet with you all. I've met with some of you individually. I'm happy to meet with you all as a group or individually, see what I can do personally and through the council to be supportive. No other parent should have to go through what you all went through, and I don't think any parent can hear your story without feeling heartbreak. For each of the last 3 years, this city council has supported all the requests that the police department has made and that the police union has made, including in the face of a bunch of protesters. We agreed to an increase in budget for the police department. But despite that, the violent crime rate in Tampa went up every year for the last 3 years, and it's just not acceptable. The solution from the administration in part is to put it in a new police chief, and we've all met with her, and she's presented to us, and we've asked her that question, she presented the numbers to us, that's how we knew about it. And so she's being transparent in that, and she's got some ideas on how to solve it, and we're gonna be working closely with her. I know you all are working closely with her, and please let us know the feedback you get and if we need to tweak it. There's a fine balance between preventing crimes and harming civil rights, so we want to make sure we don't cross that line. But we obviously need to do more, and it's not just about money, obviously, either. It's about the programs and policies and looking at the data. So please let us know how we can be supportive. We definitely want to help you in your mission. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, do we have anybody in the public that wishes to speak on this item, item number 5, or anybody registered? Nobody's registered?
Mr. Chair, may I make a quick motion on this, sir? I mean, if no one's here to speak.
Yeah,
may I?
go ahead.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. I motion for a couple things, if I may, and with TPD, we can work on if the dates don't work or whatever, where I really love this plan put forward by Chief O'Connor on so many levels. The one thing that I was really pushing for is the monetary support, and she, just built on that in such a holistic way. I'd love to see this come back maybe in 6 months or so, in the first week of October, I guess, is that?
August is budget time.
You're right. Thank you for August. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're right. Would have missed the statute of limitations there. And thank you, Councilman Miranda. So I'm going to ask for this to come back, as well as the idea of some sort of a memorial for victims of crime and of gun violence as well.
We have a motion from Councilman Vieira. Do we have a second?
Yes, sir.
Second, Councilman Citro. Yes, sir. What date?
Yes.
First week in August.
There you go, what he said.
Take a look.
First Thursday in August.
That's a great day.
And under what points?
No, it's a couple of ex-girlfriends.
Staff reports and unfinished business? Is that what it is? Staff reports and unfinished business?
Yes, that's fine. Yes, sir.
Yeah, 2. We have a motion from Councilman Vieira, second from Councilman Citro. All in favor? Aye. All right, anything else, sir?
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we are going back to item number 4.
Good morning, Chairman and Council. LaShawn Dock with City Planning, and I believe I have a presentation. We can
Yes,
bring up
ma'am.
the
Go ahead.
Presentation, please. And council, thank you so much for your time today. Item number 4 is a privately initiated text amendment, and we also will present for you today a batch of publicly initiated amendments, but we'll start with the private amendment first. Next slide, please. So these amendments were originally scheduled for the February workshop. The item was never heard, and it was continued to today's workshop. Next slide, please. So today I'll go ahead and present to you the privately initiated amendment first. I'll give a brief background on that amendment request, to talk about the scheduling and the next steps on that request. And then what we'll do is we'll hear from Stephen Benson, the Director of City Planning, to give an overview of the parking master plan and how this request ties into that. And then the applicant, Karen Kress, will make her presentation, and we have someone on the line also as a part of her team. Joel Mann is online. And then what we'll do is open it up for questions. I will then take a brief pause and ask for a motion from council to direct staff to transmit the request to the Planning Commission. Although we are presenting to you today privately and publicly initiated amendments, they are two separate items. So we just want to make sure we have one motion for the private and then another one for the public. And then Eric Cotton is here. He's going to take over and present to you the publicly initiated amendments, and we'll go from there. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So the applicant for this request is Karen Kress. She is representing the Tampa Downtown Partnership. This request was submitted as a part of the January 2021 amendment cycle. And it's important to note that from the time that this request was submitted, the applicant worked with staff, and that includes mobility staff, transportation staff, the zoning administrator. It was a collaborative effort on the language that is brought before you today. So I have provided for you in the packets the original language submitted by the applicant along with the language that moves forward. It's just to show you the difference in the two submittals. The applicant was responsive to any of the staff's requests for modifications. And also the public, when we did outreach during the public information meeting, which I'll review the scheduling with you shortly, the applicant was very responsive and modified the request, the amendment request. So what moves forward today are 3 sections of the code. And that is, one is the central business district, the downtown district, changes proposed to that language and the parking ratios in the downtown district. There's a small modification in the special use section of the code under 27-132. And then the last change is in the channel district regulations for parking. Next slide, please. So first is the CBD. So the code sections have been listed there for reference, but this would modify, one of the changes is the table that's provided in the CBD, which actually provides you information regarding each street type. So the CBD is one of your special districts. There are street types identified, and within the code for each street type, there's a table that gives you those standards. So what we've done is we've modified and specified the vehicular access requirements for each street type. The next thing is the reduction in the required parking. So for the uses that are listed in the CBD, there's a reduction of the parking ratios by about no more than 50%. And then there's the addition and the recognition of alternative transportation modes. So currently in our code now, it's important to mention that we have in our Seminole Heights Special District, we have that recognition of alternative transportation modes. And this allows for parking offsets for things like bicycle parking. This recognizes rideshare programs and things of that sort to actually serve as a parking offset for your required parking. Next slide, please. The next area of a change is in the individual special uses section. So currently in the code, under the CBD section of the code, it lists the uses. For the bank drive-in window, specifically, it is a special use currently, and that was under the special use section of the code, so that has been consolidated and moved into the CBD section of the code for uniformity. Next slide, please. The last area of change is in the channel district. So what has been done is when the applicant initially submitted the request, all of the language was provided with the proposed changes. In the Channel District, in the code currently, there's one table that is utilized for the permitted uses in the Channel District, and there's another table for the parking required. So we asked to consolidate the table so that it is similar to the CBD. So that was done. The applicant consolidated the table. And then the next change that was made in the Channel District was the reduction of the parking ratios for those uses in the Channel District. Next slide, please. So next steps. So we held the public information meeting in July. And that, at that time, based upon the feedback from the public, is when the applicant amended the request and narrowed the request to the Channel District and the Central Business District. Then we're before you today for the workshop. The next step would be the Planning Commission briefing in May, and then the public hearing for the Planning Commission in June. This will come back before you, Council, for first and second reading. We're looking at an estimated timeframe of July and August. So with possible final adoption by August for this request.
So you would need us after everything to move to transmit today?
Yes, so after we do the question and answer for the privately, I'll come back up, and then if you could, yes, make a
Okay.
motion to transmit.
Thank you very much.
Next slide, please. And I'll turn it over to Stephen Benson to give you an overview of the parking master plan. Thank you, Council.
Thank you very much. Stephen Benson with City Planning. Just wanted to emphasize, this is a short slide to summarize the information that Vic presented to you some time ago, or on March 31st. And want to highlight that these code amendments were generated through a comprehensive and sound planning process. There was public engagement, and it was comprehensive. So actions that have been taken by the city to date include enhancing all the different mobility options that exist downtown, so that you can park once and not have to keep getting in your car just to park and move a couple blocks around downtown. Pricing adjustments, as well as technology advancements with the parking programs and systems. And so this privately initiated amendment, even though it is privately initiated, we did work closely with the applicant on what's being proposed. Next slide. What we would like to do going forward is to take that same model that was used for downtown, that was spearheaded by the Downtown Partnership, and apply it citywide in terms of developing a citywide parking master plan. The recommendations will not be the same, the strategies will probably not be the same, but this will help us establish what that vision should be. We know parking is always a hot topic of interest. There's always a lot of concerns about parking. So this would involve a lot of community engagement, listening sessions, knowledge sharing to develop parking policies that would be tailored to each unique area or unique neighborhood, what makes the most sense for that neighborhood. Long term, we expect that there will continue to be changes to Chapter 15 for the streets and sidewalks and the parking requirements, as well as Chapter 27 that will come out of this process. But again, emphasizing that to get to the outcomes that we want to see with parking, we need three things: better management and operations, clearer and more consistent community expectations, and also better development regulations that align with all two of those things. And that's what will get us to those parking outcomes that we'd like to see. Next slide. And now we'll pass it over to the applicant to go over their presentation and the amendment. So Karen Kress with the Downtown Partnership. Thank you.
Still morning. Good morning. Joel Mann, who is our parking consultant with Stantec, should be sharing a screen to give you the presentation.
Yes, we see it.
This isn't it yet.
It's not it?
No.
No? Okay. Mr. Mann, if you could share your screen?
I can do a paper copy if I need to.
Is he logged in and, all right.
Mr. Chair.
Yep.
Karen, I have to go in 7 minutes. I would like to vote on this. And I apologize, you could vote without me, but I would like to be supportive of this if you happen to get done in time for us to vote.
Okay. I can come back at 1 o'clock if you prefer that.
He's not coming
I'm
back.
not coming back, but if you get it, if you get it done before that, I'd love to
All
vote
right,
for it.
well, in the interest of time, let me go ahead and get, I'm not sure what your screen seeing now.
There we go. All right.
All right, well, let's do it the old-fashioned way.
Yep.
You could use the wheel to scroll out.
How's that? Okay, I think that'll be all right. Okay, well, sorry about wasting 2 of the precious 7 minutes there. So basically, every meeting that we had at the partnership, people complained about parking. So we knew we had to do something about it, so we embarked on this comprehensive downtown parking plan. It's been a couple years, and kind of the last leg of it now is getting around to the parking codes. It was a fun project. It did include a lot of stakeholder outreach, within the downtown community, consensus building. And again, these codes were submitted, this code language was submitted about 2 years ago, so it already feels maybe a little bit stale, but still relevant and still kind of the baby steps in the right direction. So, we tried to stay in tune with everything that the mayor's team was trying to do with the T3 recommendations. We had a map done that shows all of the area we have for parking. This doesn't even include the streets. So I'm not necessarily convinced that parking is our highest and best use in our downtown. Y'all could come to your similar conclusions possibly. And then we decided we needed to know where all of the parking is in our downtown. So we have, we have it all in a big spreadsheet. Who manages it, who owns it, what's the cost of it, what's the availability of it, that sort of thing. So now we have all that mapped out. And then we did the fun part. We got our steps in, we went and we counted how many cars were in all of these parking lots and garages. We went at different times of the day, we went at different times of the week, and we came to some conclusions that include, much to everyone's surprise, voila, there is available parking. At the time, the solution to downtown's parking problem was that the city needs to build a new parking garage. So we wanted to be a very data-intensive study, and what we found is that even during the peak demand times, there were 6,000 empty parking spaces in our downtown. Now, are those parking spaces where you want them to be? Are you able to access those parking spaces? Is there a better, an opportunity to maybe share those parking spaces? Yeah, we have some opportunities. But we did find that walking, good old-fashioned walking is probably a realistic solution. Let me give you some sample walking distances in our downtown. I mean, you all are familiar with your downtown, but you can walk from some parking availability to the core of downtown in 10 minutes. I think people need to just kind of keep up with the fact that Tampa really is a big city now, and we have to kind of get out of our old habits. You guys know all of this. I'm not showing you anything new. It's just, when you think about how compact our downtown is, I think it's a pretty fair request to park maybe a little bit on what the perimeter might be. So, but customers don't really have any incentive to ask for anything different. Now the city, as Stephen Benson just mentioned, the city has made a bunch of moves since the study was published to try to just kind of keep up with the times, looking at broadening the way you can pay for parking, hopefully know before you go, so you have better parking information before you even come downtown. Working on potentially upgrading the technology to offer you maybe like a hybrid parking pass now, because you have that hybrid remote work environment, so you don't necessarily need a monthly parking space anymore. Just for a minute about a topic about development and parking affordability, there's some surprising facts in here. Well, you probably know this, you're more in tune than most people, but parking has a huge impact on housing that's affordable. A very strong relation. Intuitively, the construction costs go way up to build parking. Let's also remember that less space for living versus storage for cars is likely sacrificed. I have a good visual of that here in a second. Here's some facts and figures on the cost of parking. What if it was unbundled? Meaning, what if you paid for your rent separate from your rent for living versus your rent for your car? I think that would help a lot of people with affordability. It doesn't kind of come bundled in with your lease. So here's a good graphic that shows you how many square feet you need for 2 parking spaces and how many square feet you need for a 2-bedroom apartment. They're about the same. So what has all this contributed to? Basically a trend toward over-parking. I think the developers and the market feels that they have to overbuild parking. I think that you all are on board with the fact that now it's the time to start making these baby steps in the right direction, and then the city staff can kind of keep that going with a more citywide look. Again, we involve both the public and private sector in both coming up with the solutions and then continuing on with the solutions. This talks about that a little bit. There's a role for all of us in this, including the private parking operators who have been a good partner so far on this. So we're here in this step, the administrative changes to correct the market. Sorry, I'm really going fast through this. I think you all have a copy. I want you to know that we are not alone. This slide is also a little bit outdated, but Tampa is not leading. We're catching up on this. So you can see this is just kind of an overview of the cities who have eliminated all the parking requirements, which is another path you could choose to take, or at least reduce the amount, especially at least in the downtown and the urban cores. So now getting into kind of the bulk of what the code changes are. Basically, to kind of summarize it, we kind of cut everything in half. We're not necessarily saying parking maximums, so the developers can only build so much, but we're at least saying if they don't want to build as much, they should be able to do that. So this kind of goes through the different use tables on that. I will say that the code is a very complicated beast, and I don't envy you all trying to understand all of that. I learned a lot. We're also trying to make parking a little bit more flexible. So for instance, instead of building one vehicle space, you can put 2 motorcycles in there. You could put, 4 or more bicycles in there. So just giving those development community a little bit more flexibility with how they meet the parking requirements. Almost done. So, kind of, this is the next steps for what we need to be doing. Let me just get caught up. Let me go to the next slide because this starts to talk more specifics too. So again, the development community is not capped with what they provide, meaning no maximums, but that is an option for you to do. Some cities have done that. But we did eliminate minimum parking minimums for services such as retail, pharmacies, restaurants. We have a pretty extensive network of on-street parking that should be able to meet those demands. Here's a couple more slides with kind of the overall flavor of what we're trying to do. Trying to add alternative methods to meet the parking requirements. I mentioned the motorcycles, the bike parking, that sort of thing. And then if a developer wants to have an alternative parking study to show that they don't need as many parking spaces, there's an allowance for that as well. Second to last slide. And then as LaShawn mentioned, just kind of trying to streamline some of it. There was a lot of tables and language and everything else. So just trying to make it a little bit easier to read and follow. And then just this last slide is just some future steps for you to consider. Again, this information that we submitted feels a little bit rusty to me, and you might even want to take it further than we suggested that we go. We were just trying to keep moving that needle. So, there's lots of other suggestions on here. You could potentially just even remove all of the parking requirements and let the development community decide what they want to do. So I don't want to lecture you. I know you're all up to speed on all of these things, but I did want to have the opportunity to come and talk to you about what we suggested as the next step.
Thank you very much. Great.
1 minute over, sorry.
I agree with, I think, everything that you've presented. The elimination of parking minimums or reduction of parking minimums by 50% in this case will help move our city, or at least our central business district, forward to where it needs to be. Because not everybody's going to own a car. We want to promote walkability. We want to promote use of bicycles. And as you described downtown, I was here Sunday. I went to church. I parked near Sacred Heart, and I just decided to walk downtown all the way to the Publix in the Channel District, to Union Station. I just went and took pictures. The Jackson House, whatever. It's not a bad walk. And, it was hot, and it wasn't miserable. It's doable, and we need to promote that, and I think this is great. Councilman Carlson, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, excellent presentation. Can we vote to transmit, or he's going to make the motion? My question was whether we can vote now.
Yeah, Councilman Citro wants to make the motion to transmit.
Can I make the motion to transmit?
We have a motion for Councilman Citro. Do we have a second? Second for Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Yes. All right.
Thank
May I say briefly, Ms. Kress, thank you for your hard work. You and I have been talking about this for years, and it's finally coming to fruition. Mr. B-Day, Mr. Benson, everybody, thank you for your help in this. This is going to make living downtown more affordable, more convenient. I am going to say this, though. The linchpin in this is going to be, hopefully, when the All for Transportation goes through, we can have circulators running through our downtown, so those people that say, well, I don't want to park 5 blocks away, they can say, okay, I'll park that 5 blocks away, and I'll jump on the circulator to get to where I need to go.
Love it.
Again, thank you very much for your hard work.
Councilman Miranda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm glad you went to church here on Sunday. However, I want to make sure that those that go to church on Sunday can still get free parking. We had that arrangement made some time back, and I want to make sure that it has nothing to do with changing that.
No,
Nothing
that's,
to do with
they have free parking until 2 p.m.
Well,
on Sunday.
yeah, I understand that all day, but
Yeah.
during the church hours, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, this doesn't affect that
I want to
at
make
all.
sure about that. I know how things happen.
Yep.
But
That was
I know Ms.
that was a
Pratt
fair
and the rest of them
compromise. I thought that was
didn't
great.
say anything like that. Thank you very much, so I appreciate it. And next time you walk, don't wear your Sunday school shoes. Don't walk around town, you're going to get sores.
That's right. I think did I have sneakers on? I don't know. Good point. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Yes,
Appreciate
ma'am.
it.
I'm sorry? Karen Kress, with a K.
At a
double K.
department building downtown.
Yeah, no relation, but yeah, same last name.
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and if, LaShawn Dock City Planning, if I can have the presentation, the staff presentation back up, and then Eric will go ahead and present to you the publicly initiated amendments, and then we'll wrap it up with the scheduling. Thank you.
Good morning, Eric Cotton, or now good afternoon, Eric Cotton, Development Coordination. They need to pop through a lot, or I can just go do a PowerPoint. I have mine printed out. Okay, well, here we are. Okay, cool, thank you. Next slide, please. So this is these are privately or publicly initiated text amendments primarily from staff. Some are related to changes in Florida statute that we're trying to catch up with. Others are initiated by staff in an effort to make our code read better and flow better. Next slide, please. So as it says, 5 are initiated as a result of changes to Florida statute, and 5 are initiated by staff itself. Next slide. This is just a list of the things that are changing in the code. So these are all different sections that are going to be touched by the changes. Next slide. So the first change is to commercial vehicles in residential districts. This is not part of the slide presentation, I believe. I just want to just switch this real quick, then I'll go back to the presentation. Let me scoot this up so everybody can see it. So we're changing we're changing 3 definitions in the code as it stands right now. Right now, commercial equipment is defined, but it also includes a caveat for things that are personal vehicles. So we're breaking that out and going to have a definition for commercial equipment. We're pulling out and creating a definition of personal vehicles to include the vehicles that people actually drive, some for their businesses, some for their own. You know, some people drive large pickup trucks that might trigger almost being a commercial vehicle. And then we have commercial equipment in residential areas that would allow right now, to clarify one, if you're dropping something off at somebody's house, Lowe's is delivering you a dishwasher or a washing machine, they can be parked there for the hour they're unloading equipment and installing it. And also, if you drive a commercial vehicle that's no greater than 9 by 22, so like a full-size pickup truck, and you park it on your own personal property because you have a plumbing company, Cotton's Plumbing, and I park it at my house, I will be able to do that without being cited by code enforcement for that violation. Let me go back to the presentation.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
if I could.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Cotton, does that include having signage or not having signage on that vehicle?
It would include having signage.
Thank you.
That wouldn't change. Let me go back to I gotta go back to the presentation. I'll have to ask them to put it back up for me, because I don't know what I'm doing at this point. I'm not sure which button it is.
When you say allows temporary parking of commercial equipment in residential districts, does that mean a new air conditioning unit's being installed, so they're there for a few hours? Or
Correct,
that's what it
correct.
means, beyond the job that they are there to do?
Right, then they're
that's it?
supposed to be on, they're not supposed to park it there, and they go walk around the community doing whatever it's there for, specifically for what they're there for.
Okay.
Did I lose the presentation? Oh, I'm back. Thank you, guys, in the back. Next is food trucks. Food trucks are also, this is a change based on Florida statute. The state preempted us from regulating food trucks. Previously, they were a special use in our code, and you had to go through the special use process. We also did not define food trucks. We are adding a definition, which is just mimicking the definition of the state of Florida. So it's a mobile food dispensing vehicle, which is any vehicle that is licensed at a public service food establishment that's self-propelled or otherwise movable, and it's supposed to maintain all its own utilities. So water, power for the cooking and all that kind of stuff, supposed to be in the vehicle. No more, you're not supposed to plug it in, you're not supposed to bring an extra generator to be placed on the property, none of that's supposed to take place.
Councilman Citro.
Just to be specific on this.
Yes, sir.
This is including on-street parking as well as parking lots?
This is, the food truck is only regulating private property. Food trucks should not be parked in the public right-of-way outside of, if they have a special event that's like the mayor's food truck rally, when that's operated by the park
So the
department.
food truck would still need a parking permit on-street parking right away?
This does not address this, they're not supposed to be in the right-of-way at all.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Miranda.
Thank you, Chairman. I hate to bring this up, but now we remember now, you have a boat, it's gonna be behind the house, the front of the house. Can't be from your yard forward. Can't be from the point of the 20-foot back. You cannot park a boat on the city street or in front of your house. You have to have the boat, even with a wall at the front. Now we're saying that you can have a food truck in the front.
No, the food trucks are only on commercial properties.
But the food truck can park in your, if you have a, I'm not against anything you're saying,
Okay.
providing it doesn't upset something else. And
Yeah.
right now, the boats have, if I remember, we passed an ordinance a year or so ago, that you have to have your boat in your backyard or in an area where it cannot be seen in the street. Am I correct or not?
Yes, sir, that's not
All right,
changing, this
so
is not
now,
touching
tell me
that.
about the food truck.
This is for food trucks, your typical food truck you see at a parking lot in front of a Home Depot or a Lowe's or, well, maybe not 7-Elevens, or you see the ones that are
Whatever.
downtown. We're preempted from regulating those by the state. So we're regulating language specifically to address food trucks.
So they can then park it in their property in front of the house.
No, sir, that's, because those are gonna be bigger than a typical commercial
I
vehicle.
want clarity, that's what I want.
Correct. So the maximum size of a commercial vehicle is 9 by 22.
9 by 22, I remember that.
Correct. Yes,
All
sir.
right, thank you. Answer the question.
The next change is to alcoholic beverage enforcement. Right now, the code requires us to give somebody 30-day notice. That will shorten it down to 15 days in the event if it's a health safety issue. The bonus provisions for gray water, this again is a result of state statute changing. This is to address bonus densities if you're providing 100%, or excuse me, 75% of gray water to the proposed development. 25%, you can get a bonus intensity of, or density of 25%. If you're 100% service through gray water, you can get a 30% bump in your density.
Explain what gray water is to the public.
Yes, sir. So gray water, for those who are not familiar with the term, is basically recycled water. The city has it in some areas, the county has it in some areas. It's water that's been treated and is usually primarily for landscaping, instead of using potable water. Next slide, please. So home-based businesses, this again is a result of the state preempting local governments. This was a change. We're redefining what a home-based business is, and we're going to be amending. Right now, we require it as a special use. We're going to be moving it and expanding the language under specified uses. Some of the changes in that, just so council will be aware, is the state now, currently the city does not allow for outside individuals working at a house they don't live at. The state preempted and allows up to 2 individuals who do not live at the residence to be there. It allows for some commercial vehicles and commercial equipment to be on site. So this is, we're trying to bring our code into compliance with what the state is and still regulate it as much as we can. Yes, sir.
And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to take any wind out of your sail or anything, but when we have some ordinances now that say that you can rent a piece of property, a residential property for 5 days under what, the bed and breakfast? You gotta rent it for at least 5 days, am I correct on that area?
Yeah, Airbnbs, we regulate for 7 days. That's what we had.
7 days?
Yes, sir.
Do we, because what I've seen is the complaints that I've received at the office, sometimes Most of the time, they tell me it's not 7 days, it's 2 or 3 days, and it keeps changing. So how are we gonna keep track, and how's the personnel gonna be able to keep up with all the demand on checking all these things?
Well, Councilman, code enforcement is very active in regulating those.
I'm not saying they're not, I
No.
said, but
And what our policy is, that we convey to people who want to operate an Airbnb type of use, because our code says it has to be on a weekly basis. If you rent it on Monday, Tuesday, you're not supposed to be renting it or advertising it for rent until the following Monday or Tuesday. So you have to have, even if you're only renting it for 2 days, you have to wait another 5 days after that last person moves out to move in. From what I understand is code enforcement actively looks at the webpage, and they will contact individuals when they're advertising faster than that. Plus, believe me, we get plenty of phone calls in the zoning office too for people that do complain about the neighborhoods. Again, that was a preemption from the state, so we're sort of, whatever we had on the books when they preempted us is what we can regulate. So that's not changing the way it works
and I'm
right
not
now.
saying they're not doing a good job, but I'm saying at sometimes, there's so many of those things that you can't. There's semis parked in the city street, not for 1 day, for 2 and 3 days sometimes. There's some tractor trailers parked in neighborhoods, front lawns for all weekend. When there's a holiday, it's there. And that's has a long time effect on that neighborhood.
No, I agree. And those, under the commercial vehicles, that's not allowing somebody to park a semi in front of their house
Well,
like that.
they're there.
That'd still be a violation. Next slide, I believe, is number 6. This is again a result of a state preemption. The state of Florida, in the Florida Building Code, passed a preemption that would prohibit local governments from regulating design standards, except in historic districts, and within CRAs, except in cases where the city has a development review committee. So what we're doing, we're changing our DRC, which is Development Review Compliance. We're changing some language in that to have language that will make it where citywide now, because we have the DRC, our existing overlay districts, the Seminole Heights Code will still be able to be enforced. So that's another change. Next slide, please. This is just a code section for transfer of development rights, which is when somebody can they have excess square footage on a piece of property and they can sell it to move to somewhere else. The code did not specify the process for that, so that's where this language is coming in to make a formal decision required. And we're flipping 2 sentences. When the code was amended a few years ago, the section just added a sentence, removing the section that says no waivers to these requirements as the last sentence, so people can't get waivers to allow things to be in certain areas. So it was just a cleanup on that section. Number 8 is street cafes. This is as an outgrowth of Lift Up Local. This is going to be codified. This is coming to City Council in Chapter 22, which is where the sidewalk cafe language is. But this is going to determine specific standards. If you have a sidewalk cafe, you can then utilize city property, usually 1 or 2 parking spaces, to expand your outdoor seating area. That gets changed because Lift Up Local expires in June, or I believe June 1st. And the goal is to have this go active July 1. So this is a text amendment that's coming to you. Doesn't need to go through the regular planning commission process because it's not a land use change, it's just a chapter 22 change. Next slide, please, is storefront residential. This will be a change to the code. Right now, in the NMU, neighborhood mixed use, and in the Seminole Heights District, we have parking standards for storefront residential uses, which are retail or office on the first floor, and then usually residential above. We don't have standards for parking for the residential, for that specific use in our code, for the general part of the city, so we're adding that language in to require 1 parking space per resident, and then the required parking that would normally be required for the retail or office use. And then the last one, which is another staff-initiated request, this is for formal decisions. I want to use this as an example. Mr. Citro, from your time on the VRB, will probably recognize some of these things. Let me go back to DocCam. So this is a typical, on this is the southern lot of a lot split. This is the northern portion. The existing house is not needs to be 7 feet from that property line. In this example, I believe it's like 2 or 3 feet away. Instead of making that person come before the VRB and ask for a variance to establish hardship, this would allow the zoning administrator through the formal decision process to recognize that reduced setback, enabling this lot to be developed. What happens with a variance is once the board says, yes, you can have that reduction from 7 down to 2, if somebody in the future knocks this house down, they can build to that same footprint that's on this now, which would enable them to keep that reduced setback instead of having meeting the requirement of the 7-foot side yard. I know I went through that very rapidly, because I know y'all have council tonight too. Y'all have any questions for me?
Any questions at this time? Hearing none, do we have anybody in the public that wishes to speak on this item? Oh, Councilman Miranda, yes.
One thing, and another thing is, when you see neighborhoods that are splitting houses and having more and more people live in the house, and I see cars parked all over the lawn, is there any prohibition against that?
Well, the illegal lot split, you mean when people divide their home and now they have 3 units when they're supposed to be 1?
No, don't go there. You're gonna find, you won't be able to retire in your lifetime. You're gonna need 10 lives to finish that one. But I mean that the cars that are parked on the right-of-ways or on the, in other words, we see all these no parking signs. I guess all of us have seen them. And you see cars parked there, and I've never seen one ticket given to them, not one. In all my 28 years here, not one. So is that, if not, take the signs down.
No, that's an enforcement issue. We'd have to talk to mobility, code enforcement, and TPD on that one.
And it's all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am, please state your name.
Now, watch it.
Hi, Karen Kress, Tampa Downtown Partnership. What they're calling street cafes, we refer to as parklets. And during Lift Up Local, we were given the opportunity we put 4 of them in our downtown, and they have been very successful. So I'm here just to speak in support of keeping the street cafe program going. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please state your name. Yes, sir.
My name is Andrew Moore, 1901 West Aileen Street. I'm here today before you because of ambiguity. Our neighborhood has had a long-term parking problem starting in 2017. We have asked several times for help. We've been told by the city attorneys or by staff, do this and your problem will disappear. We've lobbied to have ordinances of the code moved from one place to another place or things tweaked, and our problems never seem to go away. I have some issues with one of the changes that have been presented for the public text amendments. And I wanted to show that and explain that to you today. If you guys can pull up the Elmo, please.
There we go. Yes, sir.
So the proposed change is asking for 2 definitions to be changed. Well, actually, 1 definition to be changed and 1 definition to be added. There is currently no definition for personal vehicle in the definition section. This personal vehicle definition is ambiguous, and I'll explain why in regards to my neighborhood and why this is a problem. We've had problems with commercial vehicles parking in our neighborhood since 2017. Now the definition would be vehicles, machinery, commercial containers, materials, furnishings, including but not limiting to trailers and box trucks owned, used, or designated for intended commercial purposes. Now the part that's being omitted there, that you see crossed out there, except for a personal vehicle, car, 1-ton truck pickup used by an individual for transportation to and from home and the job sites will not be considered commercial equipment, regardless of commercial names and insignias. I'd like to come back to this in just a second. This is an example of what we see in our neighborhood. This property is zoned residential. This property is zoned office GC and is only allowed for 2 vehicles. We see tons of vehicles that stack up on that side too daily. And then here we are at the residential entrance to our neighborhood. If there was any question to whether this land was zoned RSC 50, this is the zoning map. I'll try to hold it still long enough. This is the triangle where you see the 2 vehicles parked here. This is where we see all of the commercial vehicles parked. The reason that this is ambiguous is these are definitions. The definition for personal vehicle is a vehicle other than commercial vehicles, recreational vehicles and utility trailers listed as a private vehicle for operation on streets. And here's the ambiguous part. And may include but not be limited to automobiles, private pickup trucks, and vans. When you add the "and may include,"
Keep going, keep going.
30 seconds.
these vehicles will now be included as a personal vehicle because they're owned privately, they operate on commercial streets, and they're indeed vans. Our neighborhood never asked along this for a definition of commercial vehicles. This has been something thrown in either by staff or county or city attorney. I want the ambiguity taken out of this. I want to make it so that these vehicles that are on residential property that are clearly commercial vehicles cannot park there. We've been here before, the council, my neighborhood's been here many times. We've asked for help with this. I don't understand why it's always an issue and why ambiguity always finds its way to work in, and then code enforcement or whoever cannot handle the problem. And I would ask you today, when you do these text amendments, that you make sure that you're very clear in what these are and what we're asking for, so that we're not here again asking for help. And it's not just my neighborhood, it's all over West Tampa. I see it in Armory Gardens. I talk to the people in Armory Gardens. I talk to the people over Riverview Gardens. I see it in Mr. Good's district. I see it in your district, Mr. Maniscalco. I see it everywhere, and I know people want help with it.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Councilman Goods.
I can't think of his name. Here. I mean, sometimes, you don't know things until people point things out. And the gentleman just pointed something out. Can you elaborate on what he's talking about? Because he makes a valid point, in my opinion.
Yes, sir. Early Development Coordination. Just going back to the definition of commercial vehicle, the vehicles that Mr. Moore showed in the photos, those would be commercial equipment because they're vehicles owned, used, or designed or intended for commercial purposes. That is the clear definition. Those vehicles are owned by a commercial entity. They're not parked if you look through they're owned by a commercial business. They're used for commercial purposes. And if you look at when we allow the commercial equipment in residential districts, in none of these cases, it's like they're not delivering goods to a consumer because they're just parked there in the morning. And then the second part wouldn't fall into place because as far as I know, none of the people who work for that business specifically live there. They all live elsewhere. They take their vehicles home, whatever they do with them at night. So in that specific case, it's not going to get triggered. Those are not considered personal vehicles. Now, I know Mr. Moore and I spoke during one of the other presentations, and I can go back. Simone, who was working on this with me, is out on maternity leave. She's back June. If council wishes, we can pull this and move it forward in the next cycle, which will be the June cycle coming up or July cycle, or we can move forward. How much time would we have to make a change? I don't know. We can make the change before transmittal. Yeah, so we can keep this on track. I could talk to Simone when she comes back and make this change in the next language of something council would want to remove the may include portion.
Mr. Moore has been waiting years.
Yes, I know.
I mean, I got elected in 15. I heard about this in 2017. I got reelected and everything, and it's still the same situation.
Yes,
he can't wait any longer. The neighborhood can't wait any longer. We get calls constantly. And
Yes,
it's
sir.
not just this. We have issues with commercial vehicles throughout the entire city. He mentioned it. I know Councilman Goods has heard it. Councilman Miranda, everybody, because it's all over the place. So you can make the changes and keep it on track, as
Okay.
he
Yes,
has stated, because those are clearly commercial vehicles with commercial logos, and I'm sure they're written off as business expenses and all the commercial everything. I mean, it's
No,
pretty cut
understood.
and dry, so.
Okay. Okay.
So you will be able to make changes between now and first reading?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Okay,
all right.
all right.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anybody else? No, yes, ma'am.
Yes, LaShawn Dock with City Planning, and if I can have the next slide, please. So next, we'll talk about the processes and the next steps. So what we will do is schedule a public information meeting, and we will hold that meeting with the public. Yes, thank you. And then we will go to Planning Commission for briefing, and then from there in May, and then we'd have the Planning Commission public hearing, and the changes that we spoke about that could possibly be made on this last amendment, we can certainly incorporate it, bring it to council by first reading. And if additional changes are needed at that point, we can still make the changes, and then it would just delay second reading if needed, but there's still time. And then the second reading would be around August or September, with final adoption on these set of publicly initiated amendments. So I would ask council if you could please make a motion to, for staff to transmit the publicly initiated amendments to the Planning Commission.
Okay, we don't have a council meeting July 11th, it's 14th.
Okay, I'll correct it on the schedule,
Okay.
thank you.
So we have a motion from Councilman Goose. Does this include the revisions? With the revisions as stated regarding the commercial vehicle discussion that we just had. So we have a motion from Councilman Goose.
Second.
Second from Councilman Citro, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great. Anything else?
Thanks so much, council, I appreciate it.
One last thing before LaShawn walks away. We have been sending out memos when we had new, Erica and Development Coordination, we've been hiring new employees, so y'all would recognize their faces when they come up. LaShawn, y'all know for forever, so to speak. LaShawn was working for Stephen in City Planning. She's coming back to the zoning office, she's coming back to Development Coordination. When Ryan resigned, LaShawn was gracious enough to come back. She's coming back as the zoning supervisor, which is a new position that we created for her. So she's coming back to our office, so believe me, we're all excited. So I just wanted to make that announcement before the next item.
We're very grateful because we need you.
Thanks
And
so much.
you go above and beyond, and we certainly appreciate all your hard work, so I'm glad that you're here.
Thank you, I'm excited to get started.
Yes, ma'am. All right, council, we have one item left. Do you want to take lunch, or do you want to?
Take the item.
You want to take the item?
Don't come back.
Huh?
No, take the
I'm
item.
supposed to be downstairs at 12:30, but we could take a consensus.
All right, who wishes to continue?
Let's take it,
No, I'll like stay here and finish
let's
it on one item.
No, we'll be out of here, we gotta be back to 5
I gotta be downstairs, 12:30.
It's 12:32, so we're.
7 is off the agenda, or is it?
This was a motion by Councilmember Dingfelder. I know you've been waiting here. If we were to continue this, would that
Which
be?
one is it?
It's item number 9. Councilmember Citro needs to go.
If we would've had a full. Okay, I
Is it
would've
okay
said
to
sure.
continue this item? All right, let's continue item number 9, if we can get a motion to the next
So moved.
council workshop.
Next city council workshop.
This is, Mr. Chairman, I don't know whether you wish to, but if you want to wait till the next workshop, that's fine. But you already have a memo if you wanted to put it on staff reports. If you want it on a workshop, that's fine.
You
Whatever's
want to put
council's
it under
pleasure.
staff reports at the next council meeting? That's fine. All right, so let's, may I have a
The 5th is kind of full, I guess.
all right,
That ain't gonna
let's,
take too long, bro.
the 5th, all right, we got another meeting. We got another meeting on the 19th. So can we get a motion for May 19th under staff report?
Second.
Motion for Councilman Miranda, second for Councilman Citro, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We apologize, but we appreciate your patience.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Information reports and new business?
I've got 3 items, very important.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion as a accommodation to Ms. Rita Gardner, Human Resource Management System Manager, who will be retired from the City of Tampa June 3rd, 2022, after 22 years of service in the City of Tampa. She was instrumental in elimination of paper cards and bringing in Color Line, all the computer system, and she was continue being our pay employee. She's the one that makes the payroll checks and makes sure everybody gets paid and so forth, but I like to make it off-site.
Okay, motion for Councilman Miranda, second for Councilman Citro, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Yes, sir, go ahead.
One more. I would like to make a motion to present a combination to Ms. Una Garvey, our Convention Center Director, who will be retiring from the City of Tampa May 27th, 2022, after 40 years of service in the City of Tampa. I'd like to make this presentation here at May 19th, 2022.
I wanted to make that motion, so mine is done. Yes, second.
I'm sorry.
Motion for Councilman Miranda, second for Councilman Citro, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
One more, going back to the original maker that I was, I move to be removed May 5th, 2022 agenda, a request, report from Chief Barbara Tripp of the Fire Department, Tampa Fire Rescue, pertaining to the progress of secure locations that are needed for the Tampa Fire Department. I have been assured by the administration that this item will be discussed during the fiscal year and is in the process of getting the consultant's report, finding in coordination with both.
Motion from Councilman Miranda, second from Councilman Goods, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, any opposed?
That's it, sir.
Councilman Citro?
Nothing.
Councilman Goods?
Yeah, real quick. Mrs. Carol Gorman sent the letter out, second letter out, and I got some other calls from some other community leaders in reference to accommodation for Chris Freeman. I did send something to the ATU, but I found out that they have some rules as pertaining to being a member. But I'd like to go ahead and make accommodation for Mr. Chris Freeman, code enforcement officer, to be set forth for the next accommodation date.
Motion for Councilman Goods?
Second.
May 10th.
For May 10th?
May 10th.
Motion for Councilman Goods for May 10th, second from Councilman Miranda, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Yes, sir.
All right, and the last one is, I talked about this morning, if Mr. Shelby can help me get up a letter drafted for the HUD secretary or undersecretary in reference to the Silver Oaks situation here in Tampa.
Silver Oaks?
Yes, sir.
To the HUD secretary?
Yes.
All right, we have motion from Councilman Goods.
Second.
Second from Councilman Citro, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes, sir. You're good? Anything else, sir?
I'm just gonna have to work with you and perhaps city staff or some people to find out exactly what the subject matter of the letter is.
Subject matter be this, holding funding in reference to that property because of the conditions in there.
Motion to receive and file? Motion from Councilman Citro, second from Councilman Miranda, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned. We are in recess until
2 months.
5:01.